WrestleMania 36 is in the books. What's going on, boys and girls? GoodMicWork back at you. We're done. It's over. Night 1 and 2 are done, and we've got a lot of things to talk about. This was a pretty decent WrestleMania under the circumstances, and we just ended the show now with a brand new WWE champion. Drew McIntyre did, in fact, defeat Brock Lesnar, and the more and more you thought about it, how could they not put him over tonight? It's a shame that there was no audience here. It's a shame that it was not in front of 80,000 people. However, under these crazy circumstances, there's a lot of positives on both nights of this show, and we're going to talk about all of it here. I want to thank everybody that joined in last night for our watch party, our watch along, and my live reaction of night 1. Didn't want to do that tonight. Wanted to take the whole show in, make my notes, and come up and give you guys a full podcast-style review on WrestleMania night 1 and night 2. But we will start with night 2, and then we'll do a little bit of backtracking, and this will be a full podcast episode. Audio will be available later on the website. You can pick it up on the podcast sites and all that stuff. So welcome. It's WrestleMania. Could be a lot of outside eyeballs, non-subscribers looking in here. So if you are here for the first time, do me a big favor and subscribe and stick around. We're knocking on the doorstep of 30,000 subscribers here on the channel. Make sure you smash that like button. Let's try to get this video up, some good traction and some good feedback and all that. So I'd appreciate a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff. Shoot over to Twitter and follow me at GoodMicWork over there. Hello to everybody. I want to knock out a couple of super chats first, and then we'll start rolling through these results. I don't know if I'm ever going to come down off of the trip that was going on with the Firefly Funhouse. Jesus, man. My notes alone, this is the funny thing, my notes alone for the Firefly Funhouse match are bigger than my notes for the whole rest of the night's card. Because everything else is just, oh, this person over this person or whatever. There was so much going on. And when you see something like that, we're going to talk all about it. But one thing that I thought about right away, I'm like, that was so beyond crazy that you have to have some sort of creativity just to pull shit out of your ass like that and come up with that many random things that can all equal something extremely entertaining. If they can be that creative here, why can't they do that? Why can't they apply that in other parts of their booking that is just so rinse and repeat, you know? It's like when they want to, they can do things, and when they don't, they just kind of waltz through it. But man, that was some wacky shit right there, the Firefly Funhouse. Definitely, it might have been the highlight of the weekend, just for, you know, kind of different reasons than some of the other matches, but we'll get into it. Like I said, Taylor Moyes, thank you for the super chat right up front. I appreciate it. Proud Scott tonight. Get in there, Drew. Yeah, happy for you guys and happy for him, man. That was pretty awesome. And that's what they were doing, clearly, you know, with the Royal Rumble victory and everything. But I was just nervous that with the pandemic, and I'm like, oh shit, are we going to have Brock sitting on his ass for another 6 months with this title? But and we'll talk about this as well as we go through the results here. One thing I did notice about WrestleMania, and I was speculating on this a lot in the past couple of weeks since the COVID-19 epidemic started, I was wondering if that situation was going to affect the booking of some of these matches. I thought for sure that it would. I thought that maybe WWE would say, well, if we're going to suspend operations for a while, we might have to do this instead. But no, for the most part, they booked this WrestleMania exactly like they would have had it been in Tampa in front of 80,000 people. Even the Strowman, and Goldberg match last night, it was going to be Roman's match. He was going to beat Goldberg and win the title. So since he was taken out, they just basically went along with the same finish. I believe that Becky was probably going to defeat Shayna the way she did, and Charlotte winning the NXT title. All that was probably going to happen, virus or no virus, which kind of surprised me. I thought that they might change things up a little bit, but it really feels like this is the way the WrestleMania was going to go. Now, a question I ask all of you guys, how awesome do you think the show would have been if it was going on like normal? I was kind of bummed out today. Normally, I'm really happy for WrestleMania Sunday. You know, I used to prepare so much for this, and this morning it was like, you know, it's still here. There's still going to be a shit ton of stuff to talk about and some potentially good moments, but, you know, it's just kind of sad that we're not getting, you know, the WrestleMania the way we're used to. And if everything that we saw happen here tonight took place in front of 80,000 people, I think it would have been even that much better. A couple of moments in particular on both nights that I just felt desperately needed the crowd. And Drew's moment, as great as it was for him, it's just wish he could have celebrated with everyone, you know, and had that big moment. Would have been interesting. So anyway, like I said, we'll talk about it. Joshua Aparicio, I want to thank you as well for the $5. Otis should have main evented. I kind of agree with you there. In all seriousness, congrats, Drew. Nice WrestleMania. Yeah, I mean, there was still childhood heartstrings that was being pulled on me, you know. I mean, I still kind of revert back to the little kid during WrestleMania time. And even though this is very different and kind of bums us out to a certain extent, there were a few moments here, seeing Drew get that moment, seeing the story that Edge and Randy Orton took, although it took forever. And just the look on Edge's face and some of the best, he's probably the best actor in all of wrestling. Edge really is. And I'm excited for his next 3 years in the company. I think everything he's going to do is going to be money and be fantastic. So there were some things like that despite the circumstances, they were really making me proud, to be a wrestling fan. With Otis and Mandy, however, I don't know. I was very happy for it, but I was almost expecting a bigger moment, and I think that's one of the matches that definitely was affected by the lack of crowd. But I think we're all happy, Joshua, for Drew, and glad to see you in here. Thanks again. Did I miss another one? K-Dog's Kennel, thank you, man, for the $10. I appreciate it. Just want to show my continued support of you. In times of crisis, it's important for us all as a community to stand beside each other. Thoughts, prayers, and love to you and your family. K-Dog's Kennel, I cannot thank you enough for that. And that goes without saying. Every one of my commentaries, especially lately, we've been talking a lot about the current situation and trying our best to stay positive and wish each other well and to keep each other company in this social distancing and this self-isolation shit. There's a lot of, bored, lonely people out there. So luckily, we've got the internet, we've got YouTube, and we got wrestling, at least for the time being, to come up here and talk about. So hopefully you guys are all here to kind of get your mind off things. Chris Leon, good to see you again from last night. Thanks for the $2, man. Drew won his first title in a record-setting WrestleMania crowd of 0. That he did. Thomas, thank you for the $3. That was depressing. I miss live wrestling. I don't think it was depressing. It was depressing to an extent, like I said, but overall, I've been praising AEW hardcore lately, saying they've been really doing well with their empty arena shows, doing a better job than WWE. And I was worried how WrestleMania was going to turn out. And one thing that I will say for WWE, and especially the talent, is that they did not by any means phone this in. I mean, especially somebody like Edge, who hasn't wrestled in 9 years, he's laying these shots in. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about how I'm not a wrestler, but I would imagine the lack of crowd might do a little bit to affect your adrenaline. When you're in front of 80,000 screaming people, you're probably feeling no pain. You are impervious to pain when you're in the heat of the moment, and there's electricity in the air, and the adrenaline is flowing. But when it's this different setting, this different environment, I would assume that bumps are just going to hurt a little bit more. That's just a guess. And I was worried that some of the talent might not put it all on the line, might not lay in their shots, might not go balls to the wall because of those circumstances. But I should have never doubted them, because they know better than that, and they were taught better, and they all busted their asses. Every piece of talent, night 1 and night 2, busted their asses. So as a wrestling fan, if you take issue with creative or booking or certain things WWE did with the show here or there, no problem, but you can't shit on the wrestlers, because they worked, and I'm glad. I mean, for the first time, they got to sit home and watch a WrestleMania. Think about that. Everybody on the card tonight is probably sitting in their hotel room or sitting at home, wherever they are, and taking the show in. It was good stuff. A lot of big moments and a lot of things to discuss. Like I said, the pleasantries are just about over here. Let me just make sure I get the super chats out of the way, and we'll start rolling through the results. Good to see a sizable audience in here right now. Keep smashing that thumbs up. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and I am not in any hurry. So we can be up here for a while talking about a lot of stuff. So that's kind of why I'm taking my time and busting out some super chats first. Chris Miner, thank you for the $5, dude. I appreciate it. I would love to see Funhouse matches with other wrestlers. My God, I cannot wait to talk about this with you guys. Think of the opponents they could mess around with this idea. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, that's something, as great as this was, it is something you don't want to overdo. I want to see more of these, but you can't have like 3 of these shits a year. This has got to be an extremely rare occasion where you can really, go crazy in these things. Because if you do too many of them, then you're just going to start feeling lazy or forced, or they're just throwing shit up against the wall. And I don't want to see that happen either. So it's got to be a balance there. And usually when WWE finds something that works, they do fuck it up. So let's hope that they don't on this one. Brett, good to see you again, man. Thank you for the $9.99. Tonight, for me, was a lot of fun despite what's going on. Thanks for the show, Greg. Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. I really did enjoy. There's a couple matches I wasn't interested in tonight, but for the most part, if you would have told me 3 weeks ago, this WrestleMania, this empty arena WrestleMania, I was very much just like against the idea. I'm like, this is going to suck. And it really didn't suck. And if some people did think it sucked, it didn't suck as bad as it could have, put it that way. And I think under the circumstances, it was fine. All right, that temporarily takes care of the super chats. No, it doesn't. Good to see you, Devlin. What's up, man? Happy you're here. Somebody needs to check on Jim Cornette. Yeah, he does not like shit like that, the goofy stuff. Yeah, hopefully he's going to be all right. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to hear his comments this week. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about WrestleMania and some of the shit we saw there. So, anywho, yeah, Paul, we're going to be getting into that in just a second. So anyway, let's kind of backtrack here and start talking about night 2. We're going to get into the results here. We'll talk about Strowman's win last night, winning the Universal title, and Taker defeating AJ in the Boneyard match, which was just fantastic, and a few other results there. We'll kind of backtrack and talk about that later on. The prime issue we need to deal with now is night 2 of WrestleMania. So we opened up the show the same way we did last night. Stephanie, this time wearing a different outfit, said the exact same shit she said last night. And if you ask me, Stephanie is too boring for 2 nights. So I did not need to see her again. And, they continued to shy away from the virus and just kept saying under the circumstances. The way they word shit makes me want to throw up sometimes. So anyway, Stephanie welcomes us. We go through the very good. I mean, they probably produced this back before WrestleMania was going to be canceled. This great opening package with the pirate theme and all the wrestlers and all that stuff. Really good stuff. And again, as I was watching that, I was a little bit bummed that I was like, when we come out of this video package, that's where you expect, the skies to open up, the pyro to start going off, the music, the crowd cheering, Michael Cole or whoever the fuck welcoming us all to WrestleMania. It was supposed to be that moment. And watching the video package, I kind of temporarily forgot that we're not going to get that. And then when it's over, they're in the empty arena. They're in the performance center. It's just like, oh my God. So such a bummer. So anyway, kind of a surprise here. They opened up with Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. I like this. The big Charlotte and Asuka match from a couple of years ago was like number 2 on the card, wasn't it? So Charlotte and Ripley open the show. Ripley, of course, is defending the NXT title against Charlotte, who won the Royal Rumble. And this is a match that I predicted wrong. However, this was one match that I thought they were going to change their booking of due to the virus. I should have fucking known better. First of all, I just want to say I loved Rhea Ripley's ring attire. That was great stuff. It was like white and blue, so it was a lot brighter, not as dark as her normal ring gear, but still had that like rock and roll edge with like the spikes and the ripped jeans and stuff. She was almost wearing like Charlotte colors with a Ripley style, which I liked. And her gear was on point tonight. And one thing I will say about these two ladies, they had amazing chemistry, really good chemistry. I wasn't sure. I was trying to envision the two of them working in my head prior to the match. And I was like, I wonder how that match is going to be. I think it's going to be good, because I love Rhea Ripley. You guys know I'm in love with her ever since last year. I'm like, that's going to be the chick. She's going to be the one to take down Baszler. I've been saying that for nearly a year now. And I was really happy to see her get that moment and get that rise. And she's going to be the new badass in town. And she's like 23 years old. She's got her whole life ahead of her. So I wasn't sure, though, if the match just, because on paper it looks good, but if it was like automatically going to be good. But it was. They worked really well together. I enjoyed this match, and it was a good wrestling match on both sides. Props to Rhea for being able to hang like that. She wasn't in front of 80,000 people, but still, that's a big match to be in. And it was really well done. It was an excellent match. Now, here comes the controversy because, like we suspected, Charlotte did win the NXT title. She wound up tapping out Rhea Ripley, very reminiscent of WrestleMania a couple of years ago when she did the same thing to Asuka. Now, I had predicted Ripley to win because of the virus. I thought that maybe, they might have to suspend things and they don't know what the future is going to hold, so maybe just keep the belt on Rhea for now. I thought that they were going to do that. Had there not been a pandemic, I was saying ever since Royal Rumble that it's probably going to be Charlotte winning the title and then going to NXT for a while and then maybe dropping it back to Rhea. And the reason I said that was because Charlotte is not going to be a random one-time opponent for Rhea Ripley to beat. That's not the way WWE books things. It usually, to me, it felt pretty obvious that Charlotte was going to win the title, but I kind of second-guessed myself at the end. But if Ripley was going to beat her here, I mean, unless it was like maybe like a fluke like Becky beat Shayna last night, unless it was a roll-up or, maybe she cheated or the ref didn't see something or whatever, some way to not set up a rematch, I can't see Charlotte just winning the Royal Rumble just to go to WrestleMania and get beat by Rhea Ripley, and that's it. And then what? She's back to Raw? I know the fans would have no problem with that, but that's not what WWE does. There'd be no point in just sending her there. Here, Rhea, beat her, and then Charlotte, okay, that's something WWE does to talent they don't care about. It's not something to do to Charlotte. And Charlotte lost last year in the main event. So, to me, all signs were pointing to her winning the title here. So when she did, and when she tapped out Rhea, I'm like, well, I can kind of see it. Now, again, we're in the same situation we were a couple of years ago, and I was adamant that Charlotte beating Asuka was not the worst thing in the world, provided that Asuka can survive. She gets a return somewhere down the line, like SummerSlam, winds up winning the title from Charlotte, maybe tapping her out, getting the win back. You know, the two most badass women on the roster can exchange a couple of victories while getting the streak out of the way at the same time. Asuka will not have to be diminished at all. She will still be just as strong as she was the day that the streak was still intact, and all is right with the world, right? Not in WWE's eyes. Not only did they completely forget that Asuka was on the roster, they basically did the same thing to Charlotte too. They both lost to Carmella, and that big WrestleMania match was never capitalized on in any sort of a return, and WWE just buried the shit out of Asuka. Like, what the fuck? So here we go again. On the surface, this match in a vacuum by itself is no big deal. Ripley's 23 years old, man. She can take a loss to the Queen. It's a big deal. Now, she just needs to get the win back, and she needs to do, WWE needs to not do with Rhea what they did with Asuka, you know, because now, I think it's a little bit, you know, maybe Ripley's in a better situation than Asuka because Charlotte is not going to remain in NXT forever. This, I would guess, is going to be a relatively short run. What do you think? A couple of months? Pretending there's no virus right now. I would think like SummerSlam would be the longest Charlotte would hang on to this thing, maybe even sooner than that. Hell, they might even have a rematch at the TakeOver that they just taped. Who's to say Rhea Ripley doesn't win the belt back in the next couple of weeks on NXT TV? Could very well happen. So I think as long as Ripley gets the title back, fine with me. Now, some people are saying, well, what about Bianca Belair? Yeah, what about Bianca Belair? I'd like to see Charlotte stay in NXT long enough to have a few more matches. She wrestled Bianca once, but still, I think Bianca should beat Ripley. I think Ripley should get the belt back from Charlotte, and then Bianca at some point beats Rhea Ripley, and Ripley can then move on to Raw or SmackDown in the future. That's kind of like what I'd like to see happen there. But this is all depending on WWE just not being idiots this time, and not proving me wrong, because I'm sure there's a ton of fans out there that are convinced this is the worst thing in the world, and Ripley is buried, and she can never recover, and Charlotte only gets a push because of her dad, and Vince is out of touch, and it was bad booking, and it was lazy, and it was a bad creative decision, and where's my lithium? That's what I put on Twitter, because I'm sure everybody's losing their shit, but we'll see. You know, I'm willing to give it a chance here. And am I not the only one who thinks Charlotte is demoted here? I'm kidding. Charlotte got demoted and sent down to NXT, and we're acting like WWE gives her the world. I'm kidding. I know that's a bit of a stretch. But anyway, right now, I've got just like with the Charlotte and Asuka match, I got no problem with the match, but we'll see how they follow up with it. If they drop the ball following up with it, then I'm going to hate this outcome. But if they do, no big deal. No skin off my dick. Know what I'm saying? So anyway, congrats to Charlotte. It is kind of interesting. I know a lot of fans don't like her, but just the idea that she's NXT champion again is interesting, isn't it? Because if she was staying on Raw, we've seen Charlotte and Becky to death. We don't need that. Charlotte and Shayna might be interesting, but Shayna and Becky are kind of in the middle of their issue. Clearly, I don't think their issue is resolved yet based on what happened last night. So if Charlotte were to lose here, what would she even do on Raw for right now? So at least you got her down there with some fresh matches and doesn't have to last forever. So yeah, all right. So that's the end of that one. We'll talk about Lashley and Aleister Black next. Let me knock out a super chat or two. One is coming in, $10 one from Zayn. Good to see you, man. What up, McIntyre? The last man standing match was too long of a damn match. I really enjoyed the Funhouse match. Stay safe, alert, and positive. Thank you, man. You do the same. Yeah, well, stay tuned for my thoughts on the last man standing match. Felt like a last Iron Man standing match or something because it was going on forever. But I didn't hate it at all, and I didn't even mind the longness of it. It was crazy that it went that long, but I don't think it was like the end of the world or anything. We'll talk about it. We will mention it. All right, we are good. We are caught up there. All right, what's the next match on the card? Oh, and congrats to Charlotte, by the way. I had just enough time to stick the NXT title on her over here on the overlay before we went live. Next up, we had Aleister Black taking on Bobby Lashley. This is a match that, to me, doesn't need to be on the show, just like Corbin and Elias did not need to be on the show last night. What was the point? It's not like this is a regular WrestleMania, but WWE was still treating it as one. What was the total count if you count the kickoff matches? 18 matches we had for this show, this two-day event. It was funny. Well, aside from the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, it still felt like WWE was trying to cram as much talent on here as possible. And when I see Elias versus Corbin, or Black and Lashley, or Street Profits against Garza in Theory, why can't any of that just be done on Raw or SmackDown? None of those matches even need to happen. But this one, at least, it's a good opponent for hopefully Aleister Black to defeat. I did like Bobby Lashley's new, I don't know how long he's been wearing the longer ring trunks. thought it looked pretty good on him. He was out there with Lana and taking on Aleister Black, who kind of had like an Undertaker style robe, but reminded me a little bit of Damian Demento too. It's all black and furry and shit. So he looked pretty good. And again, would have been cool to see him do his big WrestleMania entrance. They probably would have had something pretty unique for him. And in the end, he countered a spear. Lashley was coming in for a spear and just ate a Black mask right to the face. Lashley goes down and Black picks up a very solid win. And he's a guy, a lot of people have been talking for a while, probably all the way back to a year ago, that it would be cool to see some sort of a torch passing in the future from The Undertaker to Black. And I've been saying all along, I've been saying for nearly a year now, November 22nd, 2020, 30-year anniversary of The Undertaker's debut at the Survivor Series 1990. It's a Sunday. You do Survivor Series there. That is The Undertaker's official retirement. The Boneyard match last night was his last Mania match. That's it. Done. Wrestle Aleister Black at Survivor Series. Have Aleister Black beat him. Retire. Pass the torch, whatever. But, you know, I worry that WWE doesn't feel the same way about Aleister Black that we do. And if you're going to have one guy be the final person to put down The Undertaker, I think that guy was like Roman Reigns, and he already did that, and now Undertaker is back, so do you do it again? And would he put someone like over like Aleister Black in his final match? What if in 3 years from now, Aleister Black gets disgruntled and he wants out of his contract and goes to AEW? That's the type of things I think about when you're like, oh, Taker should have another retirement match or have another final send-off or something like that. So if Undertaker does work with somebody and has one final match and it's his official retirement, no bullshit, I would love for that person to be Aleister Black. Would be really cool if they did it in November, but I guess suppose they could do it one more year at WrestleMania next year here in LA. But I think Undertaker should be done. I think the image of him last night in that Boneyard match, you know, kind of as the badass, the biker, is fine with me. I didn't think he could do any better than, you know, taking off the hat and the gloves and the jacket back at 33 and seemingly retiring and making us all cry like little bitches. I didn't think he could top that. But if that truly was the end for him at WrestleMania, at least last night, I'm more than happy with that. But Aleister Black being a potential future opponent for The Undertaker, I would like a lot. Next up, we had Dolph Ziggler taking on Otis. This whole long, drawn-out storyline. Boy, did this need the audience. Man, it's the best storyline WWE's done in quite some time, even though the whole thing started as a joke. I became invested in it. It was really well put together. Otis has legit sympathy. Ziggler is a legit douchebag. This all was working, and it was working right from the word go. And the big reveal on Friday night that Sonya was behind the big text message, which we had a feeling she was, and she kind of kiboshed their Valentine's date. Mandy finds out about that. Sonya tries to chase her down. Oh, wait for me, Mandy. Mandy's pissed, and that leads us to the match between Otis and Ziggler tonight. Otis beats him. You know, he's beating the shit out of Ziggler pretty good there. Mandy comes out to help him out because Sonya's out there and she's causing trouble. Mandy shows up to help Otis get the win. And then the two of them, like I said, they get that WrestleMania 7 Randy Savage Liz moment, although just not quite as good. They did hug, and then Otis picked her up and they shared a kiss. And it was still funny and kind of gross, but I still think had there been 80,000 people there, this moment, probably more than any other moment, to be honest, on this entire card, needed the crowd more than anything. It was still good. A lot of fans marked out for it on social media, but I think had it been in front of 80,000, they would have popped so hard. And I was kind of expecting a different type of swerve. I mentioned last night that maybe they do a Stephanie McMahon and Triple H Armageddon 99 thing where they're kind of standing in the ring and they kind of smile and then come together, and you do that with Sonya and Tucker. You know, maybe Tucker and Sonya was conspiring because they both wanted their tag team partners to focus. So they're like, all right, let's get together to, you know, keep these two separated. And they were conniving, and they kind of come together to reveal that at the end. I thought that would have been fun. But you knew the payoff here had to be Otis getting him some of Mandy. Now, I don't know where it's going to go in the future. Generally, when you see situations like this, the Tori and Kane relationship comes to mind. Remember when Kane was kind of like in love with her or something? And then, you know, whenever there's like whenever a man is like in love with a woman, she screws him. She will turn on him. So eventually Mandy will probably screw Otis over in the long run and get all of her heel heat back, which will be a lot, and a lot more she had previously. I can't see them just being a happy couple on TV forever. But I think it'll be over, and maybe it'll last longer than I think, but to me, it just feels like a guy like Otis who just gets all that sympathy and can do the sad faces and everything. Eventually, he's got to get screwed over again, right? So we'll see. We'll see where it goes in the future. Don't know if they filmed anything beyond WrestleMania in terms of this whole love rectangle we got going on here or not. We'll see in weeks to come. Did I miss any super chats? I did not. I don't know how Tori's doing these days. Good question. I don't even know what happened to her. But remember, she screwed him over. It was so sad. So sad. Oh, Taker put something up on Instagram. You think that match was his last? I don't know. I'll never believe that. If you take off your hat and your gloves and your shit and you lay it in the ring and you fucking levitate down and you ain't retired, then I just can't see it ever being true until he comes out and says, and types it. No cryptic shit. No picture, say, that was my last match, I am done. The minute he puts that on Instagram, I'll believe it. So show me that. I thought the Otis and Dolph match was good. What you talking about? Anyway, next up, we've got Randy Orton and Edge. Last man standing match. Again, much like the Otis and Mandy situation. God, I wish the crowd could have been there for Edge. He did get a hell of a moment, and apparently that WWE 24 doc is already available on the network. For some reason, I didn't think it was going to be available until after WrestleMania, but I saw a whole bunch of people commenting about it today. So many of you have seen that. I'll try to check that out tonight, although I do have some other work to do. I will watch that as soon as possible, and at least Edge had that moment at the Royal Rumble, because that's something I'll never fucking forget, but it would have been really cool just to see him come back here and just have that return, you know, coming out in front of a WrestleMania audience. He would have been welcomed with so much love in Tampa, you know that. So that's it kind of bummed me out that we didn't get that. Now, this match was pretty much what we expected. I didn't expect this thing to be any sort of like off-site or cinematic match. This was going to be a brawl, probably a lot like what Ciampa and Gargano are going to do on the TakeOver matches. And they're just going to go all over the Performance Center and fucking destroy it. And they did. Now, what was interesting about this is that they just really took their time. And this was edited. I mean, this was a long match. How long was it prior to the editing? I don't know if they did any more, but they immediately spilled outside of the ring. They're fighting through the empty audience into the back. They find themselves, one of the first places they find themselves is one of the weight rooms. And it was kind of weird because there was this kind of gnarly spot there where Randy Orton started wrapping some sort of apparatus from like the weight set to Edge's neck. And I'm like, can we not do that, please? You know, that was a little crazy there, and that ended pretty quickly. But they're beating each other up all over the weight bench, and Randy Orton's picking up weights, and they're throwing those at each other. And the shots, you know, because there's no audience to kind of cover it up, you can hear the shots being laid in there. And, you know, 46-year-old Edge, after taking all this time off, you know, he's not pulling any punches. He came to play for sure, and he was laying all his shots in. He was stiff as hell. They were literally just beating the shit out of each other, smacking each other with every weapon they can find. Orton is bleeding all down the side of his back, and it was around this time that it got, you know, it just got very long. Like, it was like, all right, I kind of thought we were looking at a 15-minute or a 20-minute at the most match here. This went about double that. We're talking, what did it go, 30 or 40? Somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes long. That's a long time. And it was nothing too spectacular, which I didn't want it to be. To me, these guys have told a great story, and it's been the best angle on TV, and Edge has just been, you know, showing what a amazing promo guy he still is. He's better now, you know, and I think some of Edge is going to have some better, like, moments, I think, in this final run than he had prior in his life, or in his career, because there's just something different about him now that he's aged, and he's so damn good, you know. So the whole thing was dragging out more, I think, than the fans wanted. And I didn't really mind that. It just went like 10 more minutes. And we saw nothing too spectacular. We didn't need to see somebody fall 20 feet through something. You know, it didn't really need a big bump like that. Because like I said, the two guys were telling a hell of a good story on their own, just in their promo work, and the RKO to Edge and the RKO to Beth Phoenix and all that shit, and the concerto, all that was all you needed. So a slow, methodical kind of ass-kicking fight is all I was really expecting here, but I think we can all agree that maybe it was maybe a dozen minutes too long here. So they eventually find their way up above on top of a trailer. It goes on the back of a semi-truck. So we're on top of the big trailer there, of the big truck, and a lot of shit's happening. We see a spear up there. I think we see an RKO. They're fighting a lot. There was a pickup truck next to it with like a covering in the bed. I thought for sure someone was going to fall off and take a bump through the gimmicked bed of the truck there. That never happened. They had some big-ass ladder, though, and Randy Orton went down there to try to get some chairs, tossed them back up. After just a lot of just slow, methodical brawling, you wind up seeing Edge nail, I believe, Randy Orton with a spear, and then kind of the finish is just Edge kind of battling with himself. He's like, holy shit, he's crying. I mean, Edge is literally crying, going through this, and you can kind of tell, that he's like, holy shit, I've got to end this man. This is a guy that I thought was my friend and I thought that loved me, and I've got to sit here now and place his head on a chair and pick up another chair and splatter his brains all over the top of this truck. And you could see, like, he wasn't going to hesitate. He was thinking about it, but he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to end this guy now. This ends now. And he finally brought down the chair, splattered the skull of poor Randy Orton. He does not answer the 10 count. He twitches a lot. Referee is up there on top of the truck too, by the way. And Randy Orton stays down, and Edge is your winner. And that was it. And Edge, like I said, he did a good job. He was very intense through the whole thing, and it looked like he was, he was going all in. He wasn't, he certainly wasn't, didn't seem like he was bummed out that there was no fans there anyway. He, I think, worked this match the exact same way he would if there was 80K surrounding him, watching the whole deal. So, and it would have been interesting to see how that would have been at WrestleMania in Tampa, in the big stadium, what they would have done, where they could have gone, all the mischief they could have gotten into. But I think for the most part, it probably would have ended very much the same. They would have found their way back to a parking garage or gotten up on top of a truck or something. And it probably would have been similar, but I think it would have been cooler to see it, in front of the big crowd. But aside from the extreme length of the match, I was okay with it. I thought it was really good. Gave me everything I was expecting, and I wasn't really expecting anything more out of them. All in all, very good stuff. Very good stuff from Orton and Edge. And welcome back, Edge. Can't say enough good things about that dude. Fucking love him. I used to watch him in dark matches when I would go to shows back in the day, go to house shows and Raws way back in the mid to late 90s there, and he was just signed and he was just working dark matches. And to see him here all these years later as a 46-year-old man coming back and having a successful return like this with Randy Orton warms my heart. And provided we get back to normal in life, provided at some point, probably many months from now, but at some point when life can resume, I think the next, 3 years, the next, several years on Edge's contract here, everything he's going to do, everybody he's going to work with is going to be fantastic. He's just good. And I can't wait to see what he does next. I would assume here that Edge and Orton will probably be done. You could do a return, but, why would you? Let's try to have Edge get as many new and fresh opponents and matches done as he can for the last couple of years he's going to wrestle here. So can't wait to see what's next, but I think we have to get on the other side of the pandemic before we can really realistically think about that. But just happy that he's back. Congrats to Edge, good win, and happy for him. Super happy. Tag team title match was up next. Like I said, I could have done without this. When I see this, I'm like, why can't they just do this on Raw or SmackDown? Or Raw, excuse me. Why do they have to do it here? It's another one. It's one of the many matches that they had to change because Andrade was out with an injury, so they replaced him with Austin Theory. But Austin Theory, I think, is way too young to even be brought up to the main roster at all, even for a match or two. So it kind of gives it away here that there's no way they're just going to randomly slap the belts on Angel Garza and Austin Theory. That makes no sense at all. So I expected the Street Profits to retain here. They did. It was a pretty decent match after the Street Profits won. Garza and Theory continued the attack. And that's and Zelina got in on it too. And that's when Bianca Belair came out to make the save for her husband. And she kicked the shit out of Zelina Vega, or her boyfriend. I don't know if they're married or not. She beat the crap out of Zelina Vega and ran her off. And Bianca kind of had a WrestleMania moment. This is a moment that I'm curious if they would have done if it was in front of 80,000 people. I don't know if that's something that would have been planned or not. So y'all's guess is as good as mine there. But technically, Bianca made her WrestleMania debut and kicked the crap out of a couple of people. So good for her. We had Bayley retaining in the 5-way elimination match next. She was taking on, it was Sasha, Tamina, Naomi, and Lacey Evans. Tamina, poor Tamina. Some people had her as the dark horse pick to win this match. I thought that was going to be a stretch. WWE doesn't seem to give a shit about Tamina, and I don't know if you really want her champion right now with the dark side of the ring that's about to come out probably in a couple of weeks. So I didn't see that happening, and as in typical WWE fashion, they got rid of her, I think, first. Wasn't she the first one to be eliminated? So that was funny. Naomi and Sasha both got eliminated as well. So Sasha getting eliminated was kind of surprising, especially when Bayley was watching it happen. She didn't really jump up to really rush to help her. So Sasha got eliminated. That left Lacey Evans and Bayley as the final two. Now you kind of thought for a minute that maybe they would put the belt on Lacey Evans. It feels like WWE likes her and her story, and she can be a big baby face for them. I'm not ready for her yet. I love Lacey, I do, but just here in this situation with everything going on with Bayley and Sasha, I just keep the belt on Bayley for now. You got plenty of time to give Lacey her moment. To do it here, it would have felt out of place, and I would have been like, that kind of surprised me if that would have happened. So in the end, even though Lacey Evans put up a huge fight and almost had the match won after a moonsault, Sasha Banks returns and interferes, attacks Lacey Evans, I think when the ref's back was turned, allowing Bayley to hit her with something. I don't remember what she did, but Bayley got the win and pinned Lacey Evans and retained the title. So there you go. So now it's like you can do the story now. We've all been saying, SummerSlam would be perfect for Bayley and Sasha. And since Bayley kind of didn't help out Sasha, but Sasha came and helped out Bayley, technically maybe Bayley owes Sasha one, and that can be the beginning of these two finally starting to tear each other's hair out, because that's what's going to happen eventually. WWE's just taking their time making it happen. Reese Jones, good to see you, man. Thank you for the super chat. You're awesome. Despite Sasha coming back to help Bayley retain, they did what they needed to do by having some tension to start build between the two. Exactly. I was just saying that. So, there's just a little bit there. I kind of thought this match was going to happen at WrestleMania, but they're going to, keep dragging it out a little bit more. That's what you do. Those two have had quite the story. You know what else I completely forgot about? It was deleted from my memory. When Tamina and Sasha and Naomi were all in the ring together, I think Michael Cole was like, this is the reuniting of Team Bad. And I was like, what the hell is Team Bad? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of do remember Team Bad. Didn't Bad stand for something? It was bad, whatever it was. And I vaguely remember it. Don't remember what year it was, but I remember shitting on it a lot and how stupid it was. And Michael Cole reminded me of that. So F you, Michael Cole. I was actually living a very peaceful life, not having any memories of that. And you drug it all back up. Never going to forgive your ass for that shit, Michael Cole. Take a sip of beer there before we get into some absolute batshit craziness. Let me clear my throat. Because we got some shit to talk about next. It's the Firefly Funhouse match. Let me just go over here to the chat. Pretty decent audience in here. For WrestleMania anyway, of about 600 folks. I was hoping for 1,000. By the way, there's a lot of people in here. Can y'all do me a big favor and smash that thumbs up? I would love you if you could do that. And if you do, I promise I'll talk about the Firefly Funhouse match next, because that was what was next. I even temporarily changed my Twitter profile picture to Cena with the NWO title and the NWO shirt, because that was wacky, man. My God. Oh yeah, backstabber. Thank you for that, Aaron. I knew it was something. Couldn't remember what Sasha did. My notes are pretty light here. I was basically just like, Bayley retain, Street Profits retain, Edge beat Orton, shit like that. But for the Funhouse match, I had to pay attention because this thing was just bonkers right from the word go. So I didn't know where it was going to start. I didn't know if it was going to immediately start off site or if it was going to start in the ring. So man, they were all over the place. This was some crazy shit. I don't know how they came up with this, and I don't know what this would have looked like in Tampa in front of 80,000 people. They probably would have incorporated more in the ring, perhaps, or I don't know what they would have done, but this was just as good and maybe better. I should have, that would be a great Twitter poll. Somebody's probably made one. What did you like better, the Boneyard match or the Funhouse match? Hit me with that right now, because I really want to know. Because they were both great and they were both just different in their own way. I can type this up really quick. Which match did you like better? We'll see what you guys say on the Twitter. Boneyard match or Fun House. All right, there we go. We'll see what the results are in on that. We'll check back here in a couple of minutes, because I think both matches were like equally good, but for completely and totally different reasons. The Boneyard match was believable. It felt real. You felt the Undertaker's intensity. It felt like a real fight. It was brutal. It got a little kooky, with Undertaker, teleporting out of the grave and shit. And I think there was some other stuff there as well, but it didn't borderline on the silly. It was still like good and very cinematic and very action packed. This was just some, I don't know just a badass trip or something, man. So right off the bat, they do Cena's entrance. He comes out. He comes like out to the ring. And then I think the lights go out. There's some flickering for Bray Wyatt. And then they come back on and you see the Firefly Funhouse and Bray is in it. And then he leaves. He walks out the door. And then it's kind of like a quick cut, kind of like a smash cut. And then you just see John Cena just standing there in the Funhouse all by himself. He's talking to Ramblin' Rabbit, who pops up from behind the TV. And he's like, hey, you want to know where Bray Wyatt went? He went right out that door. That's where he went. You should go find him. And he's kind of egging John Cena on to go find him. And Cena just looks so weird now, doesn't he? When he's a little bit older now and he's got that long hair, he kind of looks funny. He looks like a grown man dressed in kids' clothes, where before he was a little bit younger looking. It didn't look that weird. It just looks weirder now with the wristbands and all the green shit he's wearing. So anyway, he leaves. He goes through the door. And next thing you know, he's walking past, I think he's in his 2002 ring gear, and he's walking past the SmackDown Fist. They decided to drag this thing out of the warehouse, the big SmackDown Fist. That makes me think did they film this shit in Connecticut? Did they take the private plane up there and do it there? Because I think that's where the Fist is located. I don't think they have that Fist in Florida. So they might have done that. They might have taken the WWE plane up to the headquarters and filmed all this shit there. I wouldn't be surprised. So anyway, Cena is wearing like the gear he used to wear in 2002 when he debuted. He walks past the SmackDown Fist, and he's then in the ring. Now they're back in the ring. He's in there with Bray Wyatt, and they recreate the Ruthless Aggression spot with Kurt Angle. What makes you think you can stand a chance against me? Ruthless aggression. And then he bitch slaps Kurt Angle. Well, this time when he goes to bitch slap Bray Wyatt disappears. He doesn't duck or anything. He just disappears, and you hear like cartoon sound effects to like John Cena missing and whiffing with the slap. And that's when I'm like, oh shit, this is going to get weird. Then out of the blue, kind of random like the SmackDown Fist, we get the old school, which I loved. It was Animotion. I forget the name of the song. The old school Saturday Night's Main Event intro. WWE must have paid some money to use this song again and put it to use here in this. And they basically recreated the entire intro, but in between clips of like Hogan and the Iron Sheik, you'd see like Ramblin' Rabbit or Husky Hair or Huskus or whatever. That was fucking hysterical. You had Vince McMahon, the puppet, doing commentary with a different puppet. Who was the other puppet? Was it the dinosaur or was it? I forgot who the other puppet was. Or maybe it was a rabbit again. You had Vince, the puppet, on commentary, which was crazy. And then after the Saturday, I can't even control my thoughts here. Then after the Saturday Night's Main Event intro, you had like a promo. And back in the old days of Saturday Night's Main Event, they would do kind of like green screen promos, and there was a cage match. There would be the cage in front of them. And that's what they did. And this time it's like Muscle Man Bray Wyatt with John Cena, and they're like a tag team, and they're together, and they're cutting a promo on whoever the fuck, and they're going crazy behind the cage. And I think John Cena's got a chair. So that blew my mind. Then we find ourselves back in the ring. Now John Cena's Thugonomics John Cena. And Bray, and he kind of talks smack to Bray Wyatt spitting rhymes on him and all that shit. Bray Wyatt then cuts a promo back on him, calls John Cena the golden goose, and he gets unlimited chances, and he takes things from others and all that kind of crap. And then I guess John Cena goes to attack him. First he says, D's nuts. He goes, the only thing you're going to get from me is D's nuts, and he holds up a little package of nuts, throws them at him, goes to attack Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt disappears, teleports to the other side, and then knocks John Cena out. And then it cuts to like 2013 Bray Wyatt, like the look he had when he debuted, kind of rocking back and forth in the rocker and kind of being like the Cape Fear character. And then you cut back to you're in the ring again, and now it's like 2014, and you got 2014 Bray Wyatt in the ring with 2014 John Cena. He's even wearing whatever shirt was popular back then when they wrestled 6 years ago. And this was really cool. I like what they did here. They tried to recreate what they did at WrestleMania 30 because the whole theme behind that feud was Bray Wyatt was trying to get John Cena to like embrace the darker side and shit like that, right? So there was a spot in the match where Bray Wyatt's on his knees with his hands spread out wide open. Cena's got a chair in his hand. He's like, come on, hit me, do it. And of course, Cena, the good guy, can never do it, right? Well, they do it again here. Bray Wyatt does the same spot. 6 years ago, you made the wrong decision. Make the right one this time. So then Cena goes to swing, and then Bray Wyatt disappears again, and he misses with the chair. Then we get a Monday Nitro intro here. So we start seeing WCW Monday Nitro graphics, and then you see Bray Wyatt come out dressed in an NWO t-shirt and a black jacket playing the role of Eric Bischoff. And then he introduces NWO John Cena, who comes down in black and white with the WCW title spray painted in NWO, and he's air guitaring it like Hogan. And I'm like, what am I watching here? This is so awesome. This is so awesome on so many different levels. So now Cena's out there as NWO Cena. He attacks Bray Wyatt, and I think he's like mounted him, and he's just like raining blows upon him. And Bray Wyatt disappears again, teleports away, and in his place is now the pig, the Huskus pig, I think. And Cena finds himself punching the stuffed animal pig. And finally, that's when right behind Cena, you see the Fiend show up. So it was this long build showing all these different sides and personalities of Cena, and especially Bray Wyatt. To climax at the end, you get regular Cena in the ring, Bray Wyatt's behind him, and then bam, mandible claw, down goes Cena, and Bray Wyatt puts him down. This was a ride, man. This is a roller coaster. Have you ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and they go in that thing, it's like a boat or something, and then they go through the tunnels, all these like trippy ass things happening? It was like that. It was like one weird ass thing after another. And I would have just loved to have been present, been a fly on the wall, just to sit there at the table during this creative meeting when this shit is being pitched. Yeah, you know what we should do? Like, how do you even come up with this shit? And a lot of people have been mentioning Jeremy Borash's name lately because he was instrumental in the deletion videos in TNA. He's been working with WWE the past like year or so. And he was probably instrumental in not only last night's Boneyard match, but probably this too. And it was really, really well done. I don't want to disrespect Taker and AJ because I loved that shit last night, but I think I like this better. We'll see what the poll says, but I think this was better just because it was so fucking crazy. And there really wasn't one single part of it that I didn't like. I was laughing my ass off through the whole thing. It appeared that was the same reaction on social media, and everybody was loving it. So yeah, and we got the right outcome there. Bray Wyatt needed to beat John Cena. That was an absolute must. If they would have had Cena go over here, I would have been like, what the fuck? Makes no damn sense. Great stuff, though. WCW version of John Cena. That's true. It was great, though. I mean, you got to do stuff like this. And that funny thing is, we talked about this last night, too, based on the success of the Boneyard match. And we said last night, we all said it, we're like, this Funhouse match is going to be good. If that Boneyard match is any indication, this is going to be fantastic. And it was. And I think with the way the world is currently changing, and we don't know what the future holds right now, there could be a sign of more to come. We could see more matches like this. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw more of these types of matches. And whenever they get back to kind of doing things, if they can start producing TV again, I'd like to see more of it, provided it doesn't get overdone. Like the gentleman who mentioned earlier, we should see more Funhouse matches. This can't be something you do weekly, but you give us one of these every now and then. Oh man, you can have a lot of fun with it. And think about all the other potential opponents Bray Wyatt could have inside the Funhouse. I can think of some great ones. So, who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll see more of this. And maybe we'll see, do you think also with the Fiend character that the Fiend character is going to last forever? Do you think maybe this is just going to be a chapter in Bray Wyatt's life, trying to get back to who he was? And we saw, shades of that 2014 Bray Wyatt, back to that old look. Do you think maybe he comes out of this and goes back to that look? He's in that unique situation where, much like The Undertaker or even someone like maybe Goldust or someone that had a character like that, they can kind of come in and out of it if they would like. So he's got that. He has the ability to do that now if he wants. And we'll see. We'll see what the next chapter is for The Fiend. I still maintain that getting beat the way he did by Goldberg, which makes even less sense now that Strowman is the champ. Oh, my God. But this was a good way to bounce back. I was pretty bummed out about what happened to The Fiend, but this match was extremely entertaining. I can definitely go for more of those. That pretty much leaves us with the main event, which I'll talk about here in a minute. No, it's not the couple hundred votes on it so far, in about 5 minutes. 60% to the Boneyard match, 40% to the Funhouse. So, all right, people are still saying the Boneyard was better. What have you guys been saying in the chat? Boneyard? Okay, most people are saying Boneyard. I might say this just because it was quirky and fucking fun. That Boneyard was good, though. Fucking Metallica. You guys were laughing at me last night because I didn't know it was Metallica because I couldn't hear it. Because I was talking and I got the volume so low, I didn't even notice. I'm like, that's Metallica, dumbass. I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, I must not have caught that. Bray was singing Nikki's theme. That's hysterical. Yeah, that's something that, that's like something you got to go back and watch again. Because I'm curious if you watch it again, if you'll pick up something you might have missed the first time. Because I was tweeting and I was distracted during the Funhouse match, so I'm sure that's not the only thing I kind of missed. But holy crap. That was fun stuff. Scott Moss, thank you, man, for the $5. I appreciate it. Just finished Mania and just logged on. That Firefly Funhouse match was insane. I'm a 80s wrestling fan and purist, but loved it. Well, you should have loved it because, hell, they did the big Saturday Night's Main Event intro. If you're an 80s fan, you remember that. Boy, that song would give me goosebumps as a kid. Holy shit, it's Saturday Night's Main Event time. Man, I'll never have those feelings again, as an adult now. Yeah, that was some wacky shit, man. Good stuff all around. I think giving us one of these crazy matches per night was perfect. I would not have wanted to see two of these in one night, but having the Boneyard last night, Firefly tonight, perfect, perfectly done. Man, I'm reading through my notes here to make sure I didn't forget anything too crazy in the Funhouse match. No, it doesn't look like it. All right, well, let's talk about the main event next, and then we'll just start backtracking, talking about the future. We'll talk about last night. But first, we got to talk about the WWE title on the line. Brock Lesnar defending the title against Drew McIntyre. I predicted Drew to win. I just felt like he fucking better win. And enough is enough with Brock, even though I like Brock and Brock's awesome. I just don't think it would be wise, or I think it would be pointless to finally do something with Drew, build him up, having him win the Royal Rumble, eliminating Brock, go on a tear, and then just to get beat by him. At what point are you finally going to pull the trigger on someone else? You pulled the trigger on Roman. The fans rejected him from the word go. Not sure if that guy will ever be accepted by the fans, even though I think he works his ass off and is more than worthy and capable of being a world champion. I don't think he's ever going to have that respect. So WWE, we thought, would make someone else like Braun Strowman or several other guys, and they never did. They kept sacrificing these fuckers, especially Strowman, in the name of Roman, and now they found themselves in a tight spot because Roman's health, and he had to take some time off to deal with a second bout of leukemia. Then he pulled out of WrestleMania here. What the hell, man? Put another champion on your roster, please. So to me, there was just no other outcome here to do other than Drew McIntyre winning. Unless, like I said, the virus made WWE change their mind on a couple of things, and they might say, oh, let's just keep the belt on Brock for now, and we'll get it off of him when things resume. I was worried that was going to happen, so really pleasantly surprised to see that it didn't. This match, again, too, I was hoping for, like, a little bit better match than we got. I was fine with the match, but I kind of thought it could have gone 15 or 20 minutes. What's wrong with these guys going out there and kicking ass? Brock can wrestle. Drew can wrestle. This doesn't have to be a 3-minute squash or, just a couple of signature moves and then a pin. You can go a little bit here. Let these guys kind of let them battle. And I think that would have been really good to see in front of 80,000 people. I remember Roman and Brock at 31 had a decently long match, right? Before Seth interrupted. But wasn't a kind of a long match? So I kind of wish we would have gotten that here. But instead, we had Drew looking like a boss. He gets caught with an early F5, kicks out at 1. Imagine if Roman did that. So he kicks out at 1, and then he goes on to kick out of at least 3 more F5s. You guys have to help me with the total. Help me out. Did he kick out of 3 or 4 F5s? It was a lot. Now, Brock Lesnar kicked out of several Claymores himself. Drew caught him a few times, and there was a couple of spots in this match, especially one Claymore in particular, when Brock went up for what I think was like the 5th F5. Drew squiggles out of it and then hits Brock with a quick Claymore, and he went down hard. And I think if there was 80,000 people in the arena, they would have gone nuts for that. That was a great moment. And Drew kind of recovered, hit him with 1 or 2 Claymores in the end. And you knew when he hit him with that final one, I'm like, he ain't going to kick out. 1, 2, 3. Drew wins, celebrates, put over strong, beats Brock Lesnar clean. Really no complaints about this match at all. It's a good thing Roman wasn't in it, because if he was, people would be complaining that he was kicking out too much. But since it's Drew, I think he's allowed to do that. So nobody's going to be bitching about that. Brock also, still tried to power out of a lot of Claymores and still tried to survive. But in the end, he couldn't. Paul Heyman was doing a great job too on the outside of the ring. When Brock was, because at one point Brock had Drew down and he was pretty dominant, and he was just kind of taunting him, toying with him like he does so many of his other opponents, stalking him, walking around the ring as Drew, suffers there in agonizing pain. And Heyman is on the outside of the ring being like, keep going, keep doing it. He's good. Paul Heyman even said, he's good, but you just keep beating him down. He can't kick out of all of them. And eventually, like I said, Drew was able to recover and nail Brock with a few Claymores and get the pin. So Drew is our new WWE champion. And as much as I think last night's decision to put the belt on Strowman was strange, I am extremely happy that the 2 world titles are on full-time guys. 2 guys that we all wanted to be champion for quite some time. We've all wanted Strowman to be champion for the last 3 years. And now Drew is there, and that's a big moment for him. Think about his story. Coming in as the chosen one by Vince McMahon, being a member of 3MB, being released, going on and making a name for himself overseas and on the independents, resurfacing over here in TNA, showing up in NXT, winning the title. And now he's a completely different looking wrestler with a whole bunch of different experience, and he's gotten bigger and he just looks better and he looks like a guy. He is the exact, to me, like blueprint of what WWE would look for in like a top star. I've mentioned this before. I've said this for over a year, that I think he looks more like Roman Reigns than Roman Reigns does. You hear about these types of wrestlers that Vince loves, the big, muscular guys with the long hair who looks like a star. I think Drew looks like more of a star than Roman. I think Drew looks better than Roman. Drew's kind of like a combination of like a Scott Hall and a Rick Rude, where Roman, I don't know how to describe him. And I thought that Drew made a better Roman Reigns than Roman Reigns did in terms of what Vince looks for and what Vince wants. This is a guy that I think the fans accept a little bit more. Now, I don't know what it takes. I don't know what makes fans turn on one guy, but we've seen that happen. They turned on Roman Reigns like a motherfucker, and Drew, to me, was booked the same way Roman was, even better. When Roman got in the ring with Brock, he wasn't beating him. Roman's 0 for 2 against Brock at WrestleMania. Seth cashed in at 31 and Brock beat him at 34. So if you ask me, Drew's being pushed harder than Roman was and stronger than Roman was. Roman must look strong, right? That's what everybody says. Well, it seems to me that's what they're doing with Drew. So let's hope that the fans continue to respect this guy and continue to like him, and WWE doesn't book him in too many stupid situations where he's going to be given a line by the creative team to say tater tots or suffer and succotash or something like that, because as soon as that happens, he's Seth Rollins, and we don't want to see that either. So the last 2 big baby faces to beat Brock, the fans haven't liked. And all 3 guys seem to have long black hair. So let's hope that Drew McIntyre will not be turned on that quickly. I think one way to kind of keep the fans happy with Drew is to maybe make Seth Rollins his first opponent, because nobody likes Seth, right? And Seth would be a good first opponent for Drew to face and beat, because that's a big-time roster member there. That's a guy that owns a couple of victories over Brock himself. You know, the match on paper would be good, and the match in the ring would be really, really good. So I'd be fine with that, especially if Drew puts him down. We got to see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with Money in the Bank and SummerSlam and all that stuff, but if we get back to business here, maybe Seth and Drew can be a good first initial program for McIntyre. Yeah, Vontae, you seem to think that Drew will be booed out of the building soon. It's kind of hard to disagree with that, given the fans' track record. I can totally see that happening. But that's why I think to help that and combat that, put him in the ring with Seth, because the fans already turned on him. Nobody likes him. So they'll all be on Drew's, they'll at least be behind Drew for that if they go with a Seth Rollins-Drew match. Let's hope. Chris, good to see you, man. Thank you for the $5. If they don't give him bad promos and keep his matches short like Goldberg, where he dominates and wins quick with his finish, I think he'll stay over. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I don't think McIntyre's matches need to stay short. They don't need to be 30 minutes or nothing, but I don't see him I see him as a badass, but not in the same type of way, not in the explosive way that a Goldberg or a Brock is. I can see this guy having great matches that are long because he is a good wrestler. He is capable of going in there and like putting on a show. So I'm fine with him beating some guys like that because he is a badass and he is a beast and he should put a couple of people down. But any sort of a match, with a quality contender, I have no problem with him giving offense or taking bumps or anything like that, really. Drew's athletic. Drew can go. I always think back to last year. He had that great, I think he lost it too, that great King of the Ring match with Ricochet. Ricochet beat him. It's one of my favorite matches on Raw of the year. It was really good, and it wasn't short, and Ricochet was only half his size, but it was good. It was real good. And how about that? Ricochet owned a clean victory over McIntyre. He wasn't even on the card here. He wasn't even on this card. He got a match against Brock. They should have put him in the ring with Goldberg last night. Gave the belt to Ricochet instead of Braun Strowman. Yeah, Real American, you're not wrong there either. Well, let's talk a little bit about last night too, because we've got another brand new champion crowned. Would have been Roman Reigns. So selfish Roman, who never wants to lose, basically turned down an opportunity to be champion. And they were like, well, shit, I guess we got to give it to Strowman now. That did surprise me. But again, it made so much sense in retrospect. I got that match wrong, just like I got the Rhea Ripley and Charlotte match wrong. But then after it happened, I'm like, oh yeah. Are you stupid, Greg? Of course, that was going to be the outcome there. I think, one thing you got to remember about Goldberg prior to this pandemic, he was probably signed on for one more match to beat Roman Reigns, or to lose to Roman Reigns, excuse me. And Roman gets the moment at WrestleMania, and that's it. So when Roman backs out, unless Goldberg agrees to stick around, they're going to be like, oh, well, let's just keep the belt on you now until we can do the Goldberg match. But that's not what Goldberg signed up for. And Goldberg, with his age, do you want to put him in the position where he needs to be ready to go at a moment's notice and get back in the ring and drop the belt to Goldberg, or to Roman, excuse me. So it was probably in their best interest just to go along with the plans they were going to have and have Roman cough up the strap. Or have a Goldberg, I keep getting these names wrong, having Goldberg cough up the strap to whoever, doesn't matter who it is. And I think that's the right call. I know Strowman's on a lot of people's shit list right now because of the Instagram post that he made and his insensitive comments towards indie wrestlers and other people who are struggling through this pandemic. And he seems like a big dumb jack off in a lot of ways. And he blocked me on Twitter because I called him out for that. But still, he does make sense in terms of, okay, at least he's a full-time guy who's not going anywhere. And if you have to pause production and you have to just put everything on hold for a little while, he's a pretty good guy to have carrying the belt because at least he's there. And you don't have to worry about something shady happening with Goldberg, or maybe he gets himself injured while he's working out when he's quarantined. And then when WWE needs him to drop the belt, then he can't. Then they have to strip him and have a tournament and all that shit, just... If he's going to be there, he needs to put somebody over, and I think that somebody was going to be Roman Reigns, but it turned out to be Strowman instead. So he's champion. It caught me off guard. I was surprised, even though it does make a lot of sense, and I can see why they did it. We talked about the Boneyard match as well. That was the main event last night, and as it rightfully should have been. And it was so amazing, so well done there. And I'm curious to see what AJ does now. I almost think that he might transition back into a babyface. Do you guys even like AJ as a babyface? You know, he kind of survived there at the end. Remember, his hand was coming up through the dirt. So maybe he returns to TV now and he says, you know, I have the Undertaker earned my respect. I shouldn't have fucked with him like that. I apologize for what I said about his family. And I challenged the dead man and I came up short, kind of thing. And then maybe maybe Gallows and Anderson then kind of get mad that he's saying that. And what the fuck are you talking about? And then they attack him and then he fights him off and he's babyface again. Just a thought that I had. Otherwise, you know, is he going to come out there being all braggy? Is he going to be out there all cocky, chewing gum, talking about how the earth is flat? After getting beat like that, getting beaten pretty much in a straight up man-to-man fight when he had a shit ton of backup. Not only did he have the OC with him, he had a shit ton of Druids on his side. Undertaker, I thought, was bringing backup. That's what everybody was telling me, some sort of unholy trinity or some shit that he was bringing. Maybe it was a metaphor or something like that. It wasn't anything physical because nobody showed up on the Undertaker's behalf to help him out. No Kane? Well, we didn't think it would be Kane. Kane's a politician. He does not need to be showing up in a mask at a wrestling show in the middle of a pandemic. So we didn't really know who it was going to be, but it would turn out to be nobody. Undertaker just beat him, got the best of AJ, dumped him in the grave, and that was that. And Taker was a man. Biker Taker, badass Taker, bandana wearing Taker. And it was great because it also concealed how limited the Undertaker is physically. When you do a match like this that you can edit and do so many things with, you don't even notice that the Undertaker could barely fucking walk and do shit. If he was in the ring, this match would struggle at times. You know, luckily it would probably be better than some because he's in there with AJ and AJ will, you know, bump his ass off for him. But still, you're going to notice that Taker is not Taker. In this setting, you almost felt like he was every bit as tough as he was back in 2001 or 2000 when he was the American Badass. He had that look to him. So doing kind of a cinematic edited match like this gave him a way to kind of hide the negatives and accentuate the positives, so to speak, with the Undertaker. And I think that was a big plus. And now I can remember, if this is my last Undertaker WrestleMania memory that I have, I'm not going to remember his last match being a guy that was a shell of himself. I'm going to remember this as something that was badass. You know, where when he faced Roman and he's faced Shane, you can really see how sad it is for this guy to even be in there. And, you know, the debacle with Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. This, to me, was much better. So Undertaker, if he can pull out one more in-ring match, I would like to see that happen in the Survivor Series on the 20th or on the 22nd of November. But some people say, due to, or according to the Undertaker's Instagram post, maybe this was truly it. I ain't buying it, though. He has to type the words with his fingers, with his crooked finger, that he's retired, until I'm going to believe that. What did you guys think about, well, we talked about this last night, but Becky Lynch beating Shayna Baszler was a shock. I know some people probably weren't too thrilled about it because everybody's ready for Becky to drop the belt, but I kind of like what they did in terms of being able to set up a return, because Shayna was booked pretty strong. She eliminated everybody in the Elimination Chamber. For her just to get beat down and tap out to the Disarmer, I don't know if that would be something even I would accept. So the way they did it, I liked the throwback to WrestleMania 8 with Piper and Brett, and Survivor Series 96 with Austin and Brett. The kind of the roll up there out of the sleeper when Brett pushed back on Piper WrestleMania 8 and pinned him like that. They kind of did a little nod, although it wasn't done as well. And Becky got a quick pin on Shayna, and she looked stunned, and she was upset, and Becky scurries out of the ring, saves her title. Somebody mentioned to me that prior to that happening, she was like tapping out and the ref didn't see it. I don't know. I don't even know if that happened or not, but I think regardless, you can do a return match now, and I don't think this necessarily diminishes Shayna. Anybody can be caught with a quick pin. Happened to Piper, happened to Austin, remember? So why can't it happen to Shayna? And if they do a return and she does eventually beat Becky, then I guess all is well, right? Just like if Rhea goes on to regain the title over Charlotte sometime in the future, no harm done. Plus, I feel like they're really telegraphing Ronda here. They're ready for her to show back up at some point. There's been a lot of Ronda name dropping lately, and I think she'll get mixed up in this somehow be some sort of a presence somewhere with these two ladies down the line. But, you know, the pandemic kind of leaves everything up in the air with that. Just depends on how they're able to move forward. But I want to see Ronda get involved. I want to see her surface and say, hey, guess what? I'm back, bitches. I'm here. And let's party. We'll see. Otis looked like Attitude Era Triple H that just let himself go. Maybe. Yeah, kind of. I suppose so. I suppose so. He might look like him. That's hilarious. I actually think you're right. He does kind of. I had to really kind of like picture that in my head. He definitely looks like Triple H. Yeah, it's so funny how things change with Shayna Baszler, because when she was NXT champion, for every single fucking match she had to wrestle, didn't matter if she was wrestling Harvey Whippleman, they insisted that she drops the belt. Now she's here. Now they're finding themselves in the same situation with Becky. And I've always been of the opinion it's not just about like dropping the belt. You should drop it at the right moment. I thought WrestleMania would be the right moment. 1 year from when she won it. But since she retained here, that makes me think WWE has something different planned for this angle. And they did this for a reason. At least that's what I hope. I don't know. I mean, WWE booking Charlotte and Becky the same, I don't think it's like that, you know, because if you notice, Charlotte tapped Rhea Ripley out. Becky did not do that here to Shayna Baszler. And her match last year with Ronda Rousey was the same thing. She rolled her up in a janky-ass finish, and basically Ronda's had her shoulder up. So she didn't even really win the belt last year. And here she gets a quick one on Shayna Baszler. So it's not like she's booked like Roman or anything like that. And like I said, if they do some sort of a return in the future, Becky can still drop the belt to either Shayna or Ronda. I think it has to be a badass. And I had mentioned last year, with Shayna not even in the equation yet, that I was kind of hoping that Becky would drop the belt back to Ronda at WrestleMania, but Ronda never came back. So I don't know. Do you guys think Shayna beats Becky for the title, or do you think Becky remains champ until she runs into Ronda again? That's what I'd like to know. I'm not sure. Y'all's guess is as good as mine. Good to see you in here. Lisa, thanks for the $2. Appreciate it. Is Lacey will rise, will change, get back to normal? I think you mean when we get back to normal, Lacey will rise? I think so. I think Lacey will have her moment. You can tell WWE likes her. It's plain as day. But like I said, for tonight's purposes, I think there's so much going on and there's still much story left to tell with Bayley and Sasha. It's probably just best for the title to stay there for the time being. But I think when that situation is over, Lacey will have her day. You know, because Sasha and Bayley will probably exchange the titles. Sasha will probably beat her for it. And then maybe Lacey beats Sasha down the line. I could see that happening for sure. DM23, thank you for the $10, man. I appreciate it. Wasn't the best Mania, but despite the circumstances, it was that bad. It wasn't that bad of a show. Boneyard match saved night one. Edge Orton was storytelling at its finest. Cena Fiend left rethinking life itself. I pretty much agree with you there. Boneyard did save night one last night for sure. Edge and Orton, like I said tonight, did a really good job. A lot of people said the match went long. It did. But much like Edge's return at the Royal Rumble, you can see the story on his face. And he had a lot of that going on in this match, especially at the end, kind of battling him with himself there a little bit, finally putting the concerto down on Randy Orton and ending that bastard once and for all. I thought it was great, and it was just awesome. Awesome to see him back. And it's going to take me a while to really digest that Funhouse match. I'm gonna watch it again tonight. I got a bunch of shit to do. I'll try to watch that Edge doc. I got to work on next Saturday's video, and I'm gonna try to take another look at this Firefly Funhouse, because maybe I can elaborate on it more tomorrow night. I'm gonna be up here tomorrow night, by the way, immediately following Monday Night Raw. We'll put a nice little cherry on top of WrestleMania 36 weekend and wrap up talking about whatever we have still to talk about, and we'll do all that tomorrow night. So you got one more night of me tomorrow. But we're not done here yet. I'll answer some more questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa, you sent another $2 one earlier? I didn't see it. Oh, there it is. Thank you. No comment there, but it rolled on through. Sorry, I did not see that. It's hard for me to keep track of all this stuff. Pretty good audience in here, 700 folks. Can you all do me a favor? Keep smashing that thumbs up button. Try to get me up to like 300-ish likes. I would super appreciate that. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm up here a lot, especially now that we're all in quarantine. think you guys are going to like next Saturday's video. It's my 10th anniversary on YouTube. This coming Saturday, I'm going to be releasing a early special episode, something different, kind of in the same style that the Jericho video or the Jericho Cruise video was. That'll be just a fun piece of bonus content. We're all quarantined and socially isolated right now, so I've got extra time to produce different types of videos. So you guys will really like that coming up in the morning on Saturday. And then at night, we're going to do a prime time, a late night Winged Eagle podcast. It'll be a 10-year anniversary celebration. It'll probably mostly just be a discussion and a Q&A because I don't know how much wrestling news is really going to be happening. We'll have some AEW to talk about. We'll have some NXT to talk about, possibly some more WrestleMania fallout. But other than that, it's going to be just us hanging out. So we'll crack open some alcoholic beverages and we'll toast 10 years on YouTube this Saturday. Hope you guys can join me. We got Steven Scott rolling in with another $5. Appreciate it, man. It's possible, good mic work. If everything gets better, SummerSlam probably will be the big show this year. I hope so. I hate to say this, but I almost think like SummerSlam is too optimistic. I feel like with everything going on, we don't seem like we're any closer at all to getting on the other side of this thing yet. And I mean, I was thinking, oh, it'd be really cool if like we could get back to normal on June 1st. I don't think so, man. I think we're looking like I think SummerSlam is optimistic. I just don't know if we're going to have a regular season of football or anything like that, and I don't know if it's going to be time for fans to be going back to the arenas by the time we get to August. I really don't think so, man. But I hope I'm wrong. I really want life to get back to normal. I miss wrestling the way it was. We've only been without it for like 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's torture. So, yeah, I want things to get better. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, The Undertaker doc as well. That's already been out, right? I haven't seen that either. So I got to watch that. A lot of shit to watch this week, which is good. Keep myself occupied. Reese Jones, good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in with an awesome super chat. Very generous. 10 years after being named the Chosen One by Vince, Drew McIntyre becomes WWE Champion and also becomes the first wrestler from the UK to hold the title, hopefully first of many. You got that right. Is he really the first? Guess you're right. Holy shit. Good moment for him, man. Very happy for him. I'm very happy for everybody else that's happy for him. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it has been. Was that 09? Was that 09 when he was deemed the Chosen One by Vince McMahon? He's got an amazing story, man. He really does, because the way he came in and the path that he's gone on to get here is not the path that many take. You know, I think Drew is doing what Jinder couldn't. You know, WWE tried to make Jinder and nobody wanted him, even though he did a great job of working hard, got in great shape, changed some things up, and had WWE, they had enough confidence in him to let him try to run with the ball. But nobody wanted that, and we all thought he sucked. Nobody really thinks Drew McIntyre sucks. I mean, it's a loosely thrown around term, you know, and it was Lex Luger's moniker, but he's really close to the total package. What else? What is Drew McIntyre in terms of your quintessential superstar wrestler? What is he missing? He's got the look. He's got the ring ability. He can talk. Now, he ain't The Rock. You know, he's not Stone Cold Steve Austin from a charisma perspective, but he ain't Seth Rollins either. You know, and from a wrestling perspective, he's not Brock, but I don't know, he's not Big John Studd either. He's somebody that's just a little bit more athletic. Like I said, to me, he seems like a cross between a Scott Hall and a Rick Rude, which is not a bad cross to make. And he's just an amazing looking dude. I think he's got all the tools. I mean, I don't really know what about his persona, look, or ability he really needs to improve on. I suppose everybody could technically get better on the mic, but mic work only takes you so far in modern times because WWE writes every fucking word that you go out there and say. So half of it's got to just be his own ability and what he's capable of doing out there, and the other half has to be WWE not making him look like a chump. And they better not, because I don't want to see this guy wasted. I like him too much. Stone Cold, thanks for the $2, man. Good to see you in here again, 2 nights in a row. How do you think they bring back Cena after this? I don't know. I think they can bring him back at any time. He'll probably be gone for a while, I would assume now. So I don't think we see John Cena back probably until like fans are allowed back in the ring, unless WWE gets so desperate for content with, you know, production being a little bit strange here, unless Cena comes back to do a couple of things or to film a couple of random things. Other than that, I think he can stay gone for as long as he wants. He can stay gone indefinitely, and then he can just simply resurface one night on SmackDown. Just come out there and build up some other match. We might not see John Cena again until next year. It might be WrestleMania. I mean, I know Cena's got a busy work schedule, but I think all of film production has stopped as well. So at least like The Rock and Cena are probably not making movies at the moment, but the minute we're allowed to get back to it, I'm assuming they will. So if I had to guess without knowing the behind the scenes story here, if I had to guess, I would think that John Cena's gone for a while. And that's fine. Cena came back to pass that victory back to Bray Wyatt. Man, I remember back in the day, man, people were pissed. You know, people were really pissed about him beating Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray got another win back, I think, at like the next pay-per-view, but by then it was like too late. The fans were just convinced that he was buried and there was no coming back from it. And for a while there wasn't. Even though I think 2 years later, he won the WWE title in the Elimination Chamber, or 3 years later. He still won the title after losing to Cena, but something about that magic was gone after WrestleMania 30. So, you know, Cena did the right thing. I've been an advocate of Cena all along, even back when he was at his most hated. I was like, mark my words, there will come a time when the fans who are now teenagers and hate Cena's guts, they will grow up to be adults and they will respect him. I will bet anything on it. If I had $1 million in cash sitting right here, I would bet that on it. That a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old that hates John Cena will love him as a 35-year-old. And he will tell the younger audience, you know, in my day, you had a guy like Cena who was just a stand-up dude, respected, had match of the year candidates every single year. You know, he never had a bad story to tell. He never got busted for drugs. You know, he didn't have any personal issues. He was a good representation of what pro wrestling should be. And here you are worshiping this asshole and whatever, you know, that's what they're going to think. I promise you. You know, when John Cena has his Hall of Fame speech, much like Kurt Angle, they're going to be chanting, "You suck," but they're going to be chanting, "You suck" in a loving way. They're going to be saying, "We love you" by saying "You suck," you know, like they did with Angle. They would sing "You suck" to his theme song. "You suck," even though they loved him. They will do the same thing to John Cena. It's kind of already happening. So I've maintained that now for probably the last 10 plus years. Prior to me even coming on YouTube, I was saying that about Cena. So I'm happy to see that coming true and me being proven right after all these years. And I think Cena will still come back and win a title. That's almost absolute. He still needs that one more to beat Ric Flair, right? Plus there's a title now on in the company that he's never held because the Universal title is brand new. So I think Cena, when he does come back, should have another quick run. He should come back and like win the title at a Royal Rumble, just like The Rock did when he beat CM Punk. Come back, win the title at the Royal Rumble, beat somebody, and then drop it at WrestleMania to, you know, a big star or whoever the top guy on top is. Roman's already beat him, right? Maybe he can just lose to maybe an up-and-comer. You know, maybe if John Cena wins the title at the Royal Rumble, he'll defend the title against whoever wins the Royal Rumble. And maybe that can be somebody like I would say Drew McIntyre, but he's already there now. Somebody else who we think should be on top but isn't. Drop it to him. Maybe somebody from NXT right now. I don't know who. Velveteen, Keith Lee, somebody like that. Aleister Black. We got some options. Gene Bone says he's 35 and still a virgin. That sucks. Oh, I'm sorry. You said he's 35 and Cena still sucks. Read that wrong. My bad. Yeah, Mike. Well, I just talked all about Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. Do I think Rhea Ripley comes back from her loss to Charlotte? Yes, provided WWE just books the rematch and she wins her belt back. Charlotte can't stay there forever, you know? I had said long ago that Charlotte will probably win the belt, hang out in NXT for 3 months, come back. So as long as they do a return, because if you saw the match was good, was it not? They really worked well together. I enjoyed that. So one positive to Charlotte winning is it's going to give us another one. I'll take 5 matches between them. No problem. I am all in and all on board in multiple matches between Rhea and Charlotte. But I thought it would have been really easy to salvage Asuka after she lost as well. Very easy. All you gotta do is book a return, have her win back, and all's right with the world, and they didn't do that. So they didn't do that with Asuka. Let's hope they don't fuck this one up too. So Mike Witt, I'm on the fence. I know Rhea can be fine, but that's not up to me. That's up to WWE. Rhea will be fine, provided WWE just aren't idiots, but that is a big if, because more often than not, they are idiots. Keith Lee is the future. He is. I agree with Carol. Good to see you in here. Keep smashing that thumbs up for me. Pretty decent audience in here. 700. Maybe we'll get 800 in here before we start wrapping it up. Oh, good. Who the hell is Gene? Who is Jeebus? I think he's my neighbor. Robert Kane, yes, I will. Can we talk about that? Because I'm not sure if you guys heard. Robert is dropping a bombshell right now. Did you guys know kind of a crazy, obscure fact about this WrestleMania? It was too big for one night. Do you know that? Not many people know that. WWE doesn't like to say it, but I'll say it for them since they're a little bit too humble. This was just too big for one night. Couldn't do it on one night. I will say one thing about Corey Graves, because he was doing the kickoff with Rosenberg at the studios, I think, in Connecticut, or wherever the hell they are now. And he did say, he was saying this year it's too big for one night. He was making a point to put that this year in front of it. The WrestleMania, that this year is too big for one night. So at least at least somebody understands that when you hammer a tagline into the fan's skull like this, it's going to kind of make you look stupid next year when WrestleMania goes back to one night. All you had to do was make WrestleMania 2 nights and just say, WrestleMania's 2 nights this year. But instead, they had to word it by saying it's too big for one night. So now you're going to make next year's show look too small for 2 nights or something. So what the fuck? So at least like Corey, I think, was making an attempt to say, oh, it's just this year. So we'll see. I don't want WrestleMania to be 2 nights. I'm open to it, but I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Just give me a standard traditional WrestleMania next year in LA and make sure that fans are actually allowed to attend this show because I'm excited for that. But I don't think it's going to stay that way. Maybe someday in the future, we'll go to a 2-night thing. I even laughed the day that it was announced that WrestleMania was going to be 2 nights. It got Wrestle Kingdom trending on Twitter. Wrestle Kingdom was trending higher on my page than WrestleMania was, which was really interesting. And I liked and I thought was cool. So we'll see. We'll see what they do next year. Is there any other matches we need to talk about in terms of night 1? We had Sami Zayn retaining the Intercontinental title, over Daniel Bryan. That one was a little bit of a surprise because I thought maybe Bryan could take the title and maybe pass it over to Gulak. That could still happen, but Sami at least retained for now. Kevin Owens beat Seth Rollins. I like that match too because they did the DQ finish. And I was like, they're actually doing a DQ finish here? That's weird. Doesn't seem like they would need to do that. And I just glanced over to Twitter and people are shitting their pants, flinging their poo across the house. And as soon as everybody's done losing it, typing in all caps, all that stuff, Owens gets on the mic and he's like, nah, it's not going to end like that. I challenge you again. Ring the bell. It's going to be no disqualification. We're going to finish this right here. They restart the match. Owens beats him and all is right with the world. So I did like that. We had Becky Lynch, like I said, beating Shayna Baszler. John Morrison won the triple threat. That was a great match. Really happy that Miz and Morrison retained the tag team titles. Kind of weird that tag team titles were on the line in a singles triple threat match. I don't know. I'm lost. But it was good that they kept the belts because it would have been weird to pass them over to New Day or the Usos, at least right now. Miz and Morrison are entertaining as hell. Some of the skits and the vignettes they've been doing. And now with Morrison having this really good outing here, I hope that when they do drop the belts, they can move him on. I'm hoping that this reminded WWE that this guy's a hell of a worker. This guy's really good. And he's not a young guy either anymore. He's been out of the WWE for 8 or 9 years. And he's had a lot of success elsewhere. And when he came back in the company, I felt like, oh God, he's going to get so easily lost in the shuffle here. Maybe not. Maybe there's a chance. I don't think this guy's ever going to be world champion or anything. I think he had a chance maybe years ago, but, because Miz was. But I just don't see it happening for him now. But I would like to see him a lot higher up on the card than kind of where he currently is and where we think he's going to be. Because it feels like WWE's just going to forget about him. So maybe this match opened their eyes a little bit and they remember, oh, this dude's a hell of a talent. Maybe when him and The Miz run their course as tag champs, we'll do something useful with this guy. But on that one, don't hold your breath. One of the matches that didn't even need to happen was Baron Corbin versus Elias. Now, I predicted Elias to win this because he fell off Corbin pushed him off the thing. I just didn't see, even though Corbin is kind of like the stronger star on the roster, he's had a big year, retired Kurt Angle last year. He's been kind of pretty successful. He's got an extremely protected finisher that nobody's kicking out of. And I kind of thought that he would be a guy that would keep rolling here as a heel, but based on what he did to Elias on SmackDown, that was the only reason why I picked Elias to win. Had that not happened, I would have picked Corbin hands down. But again, this was a SmackDown match. This had no business being on WrestleMania. It was just something you could see on TV. Elias caught Corbin with a roll-up, hooked the tights, and got the 3 count, pissing off Corbin. So, don't know why they even needed to have that here. It was dumb. They could have. That's the thing. They could have taken Elias and Corbin and the tag title match and a couple of others and just eliminated them. The Alistair and Lashley match, got rid of them, and still put all this on one night. But one night would have been a bit much to do the Funhouse match and the Boneyard match. It's actually good that we did have those separated. Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss opened up the entire weekend of festivities, very first match on WrestleMania Night 1, defeating the Kabuki Warriors to regain the tag team titles for the women. Not a surprise there. Kind of predicted that one. And they're back together, and, they're somewhat over. I like Nikki Cross, and Alexa is okay. Still didn't enjoy her beating Asuka clean on SmackDown, but whatever. Kairi Sane took the pin in that match, and Nikki and Alexa are BFFs with the tag team titles again. Very happy for them. So yeah, overall, I think night 2 was better because growing on the strength of the Funhouse match and the main event, Drew McIntyre beating Brock, that's a great moment. Otis and Mandy got their big moment. Edge and Orton, even though some people didn't like the length of the match, I still thought it was a really good match and just really brought a tear to my eye to see Edge back and doing his thing in there. So happy for him. Can't wait to check out that documentary. So based on those and the Charlotte Rhea Ripley match, even though many fans, probably 99.9% of them, I'm in the 0.1% that I'm okay with it. They're not happy, but if you put that out of your mind and just judge the match alone, the match was good. And I think the two have chemistry and can work fun matches together again soon, especially if you do something like add a stip, because that's something they might do. Think about how they protect Charlotte. WWE always protects Charlotte. Maybe they don't want her taking a win here. I think Rhea should just beat her, just put her down with her finisher and pin Charlotte to the mat, just like she did Shayna Baszler. But maybe they do a ladder match. Maybe it's a ladder match for the title instead, and you can have Ripley regain the belt that way. I would be fine with some sort of a cage match between these two. I'd be fine with a ladder match. I'd be fine with a last woman standing, because these are two badass women. And Ripley can fight. Look at the showing she put on in War Games. So if you put some sort of stipulation in a future match between these two, that can be great shit. So I'm excited for the future here, but that's a big if. Knock on wood, WWE just has to follow through with that and don't turn this into a burial of Ripley. Right now, it absolutely is not. But much like Asuka, that doesn't mean that it can't become one. And I really hope that it doesn't become one and Ripley gets a chance to put down the queen. And right now, I think she will. That is my prediction. At some point, Ripley will put down Charlotte and regain the belt. And provided that happens, I got no issue with this. Now, if it doesn't happen and Charlotte goes on to work with everybody else and Ripley is now working with Caden Carter, then there's going to be a problem. And then I'm going to be on the bandwagon of everybody else that say she was buried. But until that happens, I ain't losing my shit just yet. Chris Hannibal, who won Dolph vs. Otis. Otis won that, and he got the big hug and kiss, locking lips with Mandy. She was wearing a very, shall we say, interesting outfit. And I still think that in the end, it's going to turn out to be like a Tori and Kane situation, and she's going to screw him over. But at least for right now, Otis is a happy man, and I'm hoping they consummated the victory. Do y'all think they did? Where do you think they did it? In the kitchen? Shower? You're picturing it. It's okay. Don't be ashamed. We all are. But that was good. We had to have that moment happen. Dolph Ziggler, he's being such a raging prick. He can't get the best of Otis again. And barring some swerve here, we knew that Otis and Mandy were going to have to get their time to shine. Let me cruise back over here to that Twitter poll. Still about the same, 60%, 40%. All right, so it looks like that's the consensus. Looks like most everybody preferred the Boneyard over the Funhouse, which I am perfectly fine with that result because the Boneyard match was great. That Funhouse match was so trippy, though. I was having a good time watching that. I think I was just entertained by it. That's why. Marking out for everything I saw. So yeah, I'm in that 39%. And I hate to do that. I hate to disrespect AJ and Taker because that match was magic. But something about that Funhouse match just fucking tickled me, man. I could watch that shit over and over. Zayn, thanks again, man, for another $5. I appreciate it. Wouldn't you think that McIntyre's title defense would not be until SummerSlam due to the pandemic? Yeah, you think so. But that's the thing, like, how long is WWE going to be able to sit there and do nothing? Because another place that I think they might be able to film TV is their new headquarters. I have a feeling, since we saw the SmackDown Fist, that that's where Cena and Bray did their thing. I highly doubt they picked up that fist and moved it all the way down to Florida, did they? So I think we're going to see a temporary stop, because that's the word right now. WWE hasn't taped anything else. AEW covered their bases. They're taped for like several weeks, like 2 months. They taped the shit out of TV, I think, last week when they knew they weren't going to be able to use Daly's place anymore. Well, like, let's just flip the cameras on and keep wrestling until they turn the lights off on us, is pretty much what they did. So they're straight for a while. WWE might take an initial break here, but how long? You know, Vince, you know, and the people in that company, they are going to be squirming and itching to do something, and you can only do so many clip shows. So I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of studio stuff, because we're still going to get something on Raw and SmackDown. They're not going to like preempt the shows. They're going to give us something, whether it's reruns or whatever. So maybe they take a couple of weeks here to regroup, figure out their next move, and if they can find a place that is legal to have a certain amount of people in, you can do something and start doing empty arena matches again, I think they will pick those back up. And I think we're going to see more empty arena matches before we see fans return back. Ideally, it would be nice for wrestling just to suspend everything until fans can come back, but I don't think that's realistic. WWE still is a business, and they still got to do something. And as long as they are legally able to produce TV, I think they're gonna. And you can't say that they're not honoring the wishes of the talent. This was WrestleMania. This was an advertised title match at your biggest show, and one of your talent says, I don't want to work the match. And they're like, okay, we understand. We respect you. We're not going to make you do it. You know, so I don't think it's a situation where WWE would force anybody to do anything, because if they were, they would have forced Roman to win the belt tonight. So it just depends. I mean, that's what we've been saying the last couple of streams, that we just don't know. Like, it's not fun venturing into the unknown like this, you know? I mean, think about how many times my opinion has changed about the pandemic since it happened. You know, at first I'm like, okay, hopefully this is just like 2 months. Now it's like, man, we're looking at 6. You know, I mean, I just don't think that it's going to be over as quickly as everybody says, and that's going to get a lot of people like stir crazy and shit. So I think we're just a long way away from things really getting back to normal. So all of it depends. It just depends on what WWE is allowed to do, what they're capable of doing, what they're willing to do. And I think if they have the ability to tape anything, they will. They will continue to do empty arena shit. We're going to get Drew McIntyre's victory speech tomorrow night on Raw. Maybe even a match or something's going to happen. I don't know. We got a lot of NXT matches coming up, I think, at least in the next couple of weeks, as they tape all of those. And as far as Raw and SmackDown goes starting next week, I just don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what they can show. They can't even like, I suppose they could just replay the past several weeks of TV, but that's just more empty arena shit. So y'all's guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Please let me know if you guys hear anything on the DL, or if you hear anything, rumors rumbling of what WWE is possibly going to do going into the next few weeks and the next few months. Obviously a break is going to be taken, but after that, like, how long does the break last? They're not going to be able to just sit there, you know, say, oh, we'll see you in 6 months. No, they're going to be doing shit. They're going to be doing a lot of shit. They're definitely trying to make some money. I saw them advertising like half off replica titles tonight on WWE Shop. That's crazy. Yeah, nobody's saying WWE's going to go out of business. And at least I hope nobody's saying that, because that's pretty dumb. We got some Trish Stratus versus Mandy Rose. Yeah, Trish all day. Trish and Stacy. I'm not even a huge Mandy fan, to be completely honest. Not my type. But I'm happy for Otis, and that's all that matters. We need a happy Otis. Happy Otis equals happy GoodMicWork. You want a Otis versus Wyatt versus Taker in a Boneyard Funhouse match for no reason at all. I'm down with that. Oh my God, could you imagine Otis being in a Funhouse match? That's what he's made for. Otis would be a great Funhouse character. That would be interesting if, like, Bray Wyatt one day gets Otis under his spell, makes Otis a little bit darker, but Otis still like grunts and oh yeah, and does all that, but he's like evil. I'd be into it. Frontlines evangelism. Evangelism, excuse me. Money in the Bank is the next pay-per-view, right? Yeah, I think so, but I know that the show itself in front of fans has been canceled or postponed. I don't know how they're handling Money in the Bank now, if it's going to be in the empty arena, if they can get it together in time or what. It looks like for the entire month of April, they probably will produce nothing, and then hoping that in May they can do the Money in the Bank match, because I really want to have briefcase holders. Somebody last night brought up a really good idea of moving both Money in the Bank matches, the men's and the women's match, to SummerSlam. Be nothing wrong with that, too. You know, if we were able to get back to regular life in the summer, by the time SummerSlam rolled around, that would be a great place to just knock a bunch of shit out. You could get the Hall of Fame done. You can do the Money in the Bank matches. You can have a couple of title matches. You can switch the titles around, whatever you need to do. We got a draft coming up at some point, you would think, as well, or maybe a shake-up or a draft, whatever they call it. That might be happening as well. So SummerSlam might be a good spot on the calendar for us to say, okay, we can really start getting back to normal. But like I said earlier, I think that's like optimistic. I'm not convinced. You know, to me, like, forget WrestleMania. I'm thinking SummerSlam's in jeopardy, like in legit jeopardy. And that's just really sad. I don't want to go through the whole fucking summer. Summer's my money-making season at work and shit. I really want to be back to work by this summer, but we just don't know. We just don't know. Sucks, man. Money in the Bank is still advertised for May 10th? Okay, I didn't know that. I thought I'd heard something that they were, maybe it's just the live event show that they were canceling, but Money in the Bank is still going to happen in some capacity. That's possible. Yeah, because if they can get it back, if they can find a state, or they can legally have more than 10 people in a place at a time, then they can probably produce that just in a really shitty empty arena type of way. Lonnie, who win Universal Champion? Braun Strowman did last night on night one. Beat Goldberg. AEW pay-per-view will own WrestleMania. I don't know what that means. I don't think so, man. Like, one thing I will say about AEW, they've been doing a fantastic job with the empty arena stuff. It's going to be tough to top WrestleMania. I think, like I said, like a lot of us are saying right now, under these circumstances, I don't know what more you could have asked for at WrestleMania, because they really, I think, came through in an empty arena setting. They did a great job. Matches were good. Talent worked their asses off. I can't imagine AEW doing any better than that. Now, the TV show's totally different. I think Dynamite blows away Raw and SmackDown, but I do not think Double or Nothing will blow away WrestleMania. No. Yeah, Vontae Field. Like, I guess this is what house arrest feels like, although I'm not really under house arrest. I've still been going to get some takeout food and stuff every now and then. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in this apartment, me and my cats, man. Just hunkering down, man. That's all we're doing. I hope you guys are surviving this, by the way, like as far as not going too stir crazy. Talked to my friend back home in North Carolina today, and she's got 2 little ones who she homeschools, and she works from home. And she's like, I'm pulling my hair out. I'm pulling my absolute hair out. Like, I just couldn't imagine, just having to be at home and just be around everybody and your life changing, but you're still busy at the same time. It's like being home, but you can't relax. That's got to be even worse. So at least in here, I can just talk to you guys. I can watch wrestling. I don't have too many responsibilities other than the YouTube channel and just chilling with you guys and making sure I keep myself fed and washed. Other than that, it's pretty easy going over here on the podcastle. And I've been having a great time working on next week's video. I think you guys are going to like it. After I produced the Jericho video, I'm like, I need to start doing more like that, just practicing and seeing if I can start producing different types of YouTube videos as bonus content. Maybe I'll start looking into upgrading to a better camera and things like that, and try to spice things up going into our second decade here on the channel. So I think you'll enjoy Saturday's video. It's fun, it's different, and should be a good time. Should be a hoot. And then, of course, we'll be up here on Saturday doing the big podcast. I'm gonna be working on that video all week, by the way. So all you're really gonna get from me, not only is WWE likely taking a break, I think so am I. Only for a few days, though. So after tomorrow night, you'll get me for Raw. After Raw, we'll review the whole show. We'll finish talking about WrestleMania weekend, and then that'll be the last you see me until Saturday. So all throughout the week, probably no videos unless some really big wrestling news breaks. But if it doesn't, I'll be up here on Saturday with a doubleheader. 1 video in the morning and a live stream at night. Should be fun. But until then, you got to follow me on social media. GoodMicWork on Twitter. Go over there right now. Follow me. Just passed 5,000 followers the other day. So we're getting up there. Responsibilities are overrated. Michael Cuomo, truer words have never been spoken. That is for sure. Let's peek right over here for a second real quick. Just doing some house clipping, house cleaning. There we go. I'm back. Lisa, are you talking about their unemployment? Canada is offering 4 months, up to $500 weekly for up to 15 to 6 weeks. That's good. I mean, I hope that, you know, governments are helping out their people as best as they can. I'm collecting unemployment myself right now, which is not enough. Unemployment only pays me about half of what I make, maybe even a little bit less. But there was something passed called the Federal CARES Act. It's right on the California unemployment website, so this is no bullshit, but it seemed extremely too good to be true. But apparently they've passed something that's going to add an additional $600 per week to the unemployment that you're already collecting. So that's going to put most people over $1,000 a week, which out here in California is necessary. You can't really afford to live out here and make less than $1,000 a week. It's really hard. So it's necessary, but it's like, damn, that's a lot of money to give out to people, and I'm hoping it all kicks in, and I see some of it soon. It hasn't happened yet, but apparently it's going to take a couple of weeks to implement, and then people should start seeing those changes in their unemployment. Really crazy. So that's at least here in California. That might vary state to state, but here with the cost of living and everything, it's you know, paying everybody $450 a week ain't going to pay your bills. You know, not even close. Yeah, Lisa, my rent is $2,000 a month, so kind of tells you the situation that I'm in. So in the meantime, all I've got is unemployment, and I've got YouTube, and I've got some savings, and other than that, just trying to conserve my toilet paper and eat my food and sit and keep my mouth shut. And I know I've been getting a lot of messages and tweets from a lot of you guys who have been who've been laid off or furloughed or let go or, you know, temporary laid off, all sorts of different situations. And some people are working right through all of this. You know, some people are in even a worse situation to where they're not laid off, but their hours are reduced. And that sucks. That's almost worse, you know, because now you're making less money, but you're still working and you can't collect any benefits. And it's just, everybody's got a different type of situation, and very rarely any of it's good. But some of the people that are able to continue to work from home or work remotely, nobody's having any issues with loss of job. But in my line of work, I've been in the restaurant business since the day I was born, essentially, and it's been my whole life. And, you know, that consists of interaction with people. I don't have anything to fall back on. Restaurants is it for me. So I do not want to see the restaurant industry collapse. It's actually one of the few surviving ones right now because so many people are doing takeout. But my place is like kind of a high-end bistro with nice food and nice wine, and we're really not a takeout place. So it's not really an option for us. So I'm hoping that, you know, I can resume my career. Would be nice. Never been unemployed in my life. 27 uninterrupted years of employment, aside from me just packing up and moving to California for that short time. Otherwise, I've always had a job, and I've never known what it's like to have no job, and I don't like it. But YouTube is a job, so at least it's giving me something to do. If I didn't have any videos to produce, and I didn't have any live streams to do, and I had no responsibilities here, I guess I'd just be watching a lot of TV or something. I don't know what I'd be doing. Maybe working out a little bit more or something. I don't know. But I'm really happy I have this because it does keep me occupied, and it gives me a chance to do things I wouldn't normally have time to do, like make the video that I'm giving to you guys on Saturday. So I guess there's a silver lining in everything, but no matter which way you slice it, this whole situation sucks. And I just want all of us to get back to normal. I want you guys to be okay. I want everybody to go back to their jobs and their life with very little damage done when this is over. But unfortunately, that's probably not the case. I think a lot of people are going to have lasting effects, and our world might be permanently different, which is sad. Vontae, not anymore. Not like I used to. Once I became like 40, I want to start doing DDP yoga. But my days of going to the gym are long over. I'm actually happy. I'm at peace with it. I always hated working out. Yeah, thank you, Vincente. Yeah, I got tons of stuff on the channel. Yeah, Devlin, I'm still live. I just felt no reason to really get off of here. We talked about WrestleMania, but I figured I'd answer some questions and hang out. We still got a pretty awesome audience in here right now. And aside just from some more YouTube work to do and some dinner that I have to eat, I ain't got anywhere to be, so I can hang out with you guys for a little while longer. I thought we'd probably go maybe 2 hours tonight and then call it a night. And we'll be back up here tomorrow too. Really don't know what to expect tomorrow on Raw. You know, we're probably going to get, God, are we going to get replays again? Like before, they're showing replays of matches that have fans in them. Tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a replay of the Boneyard match. I'd bet you anything tomorrow night on Raw we'll get a Boneyard replay, which wouldn't be bad. And it would be on the USA Network. So that's probably a match we're going to get replayed. Other than that, I guess some victory speeches and maybe a couple of matches. They got 3 hours to fill. So y'all's guess is as good as mine. I don't know if any news are going to come out early about spoilers for Raw. I haven't seen any. Excuse me. But I would assume Drew will probably open up the show and celebrate with his title. Why is Sami being presented like a jobber? Sami is Intercontinental Champion and he won last night. So I don't know if jobber is a accurate term, but he ain't. I mentioned this last night too, Matthew. I mentioned that how cool would the Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan match be if this was like 2015 Sami Zayn, you know, or fresh off NXT Sami Zayn, when everybody took him very seriously, you know. But ever since then, being on the main roster, he dealt with an injury, came back. Next thing you know, he's doing obstacle courses with Bobby Lashley and bringing out his sisters and his mom on TV and doing all sorts of goofy shit. And it makes him kind of a joke, you know, because he kind of is. He's kind of escaping with that title. He shouldn't be champion, but he is. He's barely wrestling, and when he is wrestling, he's getting all the help in the world to help him retain the title. But I still don't think I'd call him a jobber. But WWE just has never really treated him right either. When he won that NXT title and he had that moment in the ring and how great that was and the fans just took it all in, what happened to that guy? All this magic that all these guys have in TNA. What the hell planet am I on? I think I'm back in the Firefly Funhouse. In NXT. All the success they have there, everybody, men and women, they come to the main roster and you're like, what happened? It was so magical. It was so glorious. Drew McIntyre is a guy that luckily they haven't fucked up. I think his moment now that he's champion will be just as good as they were in NXT. But so many guys just haven't recreated that same magic. And he's no different. Sami looks like Screech from Saved by the Bell. You know, I thought Sami kind of looked like Seth Rogen. Whoever said that a couple of weeks ago was pretty accurate about that. He looked like Seth Rogen with an afro. But I think Screech, there's that one picture online. You guys can find it. Screech, I think got arrested or something, or some mugshot of Screech. And when you looked at it, he looked exactly like Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins actually looks like Screech. Look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. I remember a couple years ago when that happened. I was like, holy shit, he looks like Seth Rollins. He got in some sort of trouble. I can't remember what he did. I think it was something gross. But we all love Sami Zayn. Heel or not. I remember when he first turned heel, I think we were skeptical. Like, Sami Zayn just seems like such a natural babyface. Now that he's been heel, holy shit, did he surprise me. Because he is almost as natural of a heel as he is a babyface. Really good at it. And I think at first I had trouble picturing him as one. And then once he became a heel, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy knows what he's doing. And still, even with being able and being capable of providing some like phenomenal heel work, WWE still doesn't really pull the trigger on him either. There's no reason why he can't be in a top main event program at all. Oh, Sami Zayn reminds you of Christian? Yeah, he kind of does. Same size. When it comes to like Sami and Kevin and Christian and Edge, you know, it felt like Edge got the opportunities and Christian, even though he had success, was, like you're saying, not trusted as much maybe as Edge. And maybe they feel the same way with Zayn and Owens. I don't know. Sami looks like one of the bad guys from Home Alone. Daniel Stern? Marv? He doesn't look like Joe Pesci. He might look like Marv a little bit. All right, catching up on all the comments there. All right, well, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Got not much else to talk about here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and bounce. If you guys want to do me a favor, too, before I leave and give me another like button smash, and feel free to chime in with a couple of more questions here, if you would like. I'll be happy to answer them. And we'll talk more stuff. Jordan Carr, good to see you, man. Appreciate it. Awesome Patreon supporter, dropping a buck into the chip jar. Very cool. Jordan, when did I move from NC to California? 2010. I'm going on 10 years. It will be 10 years this September. And I had recorded my first ever commentary for YouTube shortly after I decided to move to California. I remember the decision was already made, and it was in April, and I wasn't going to go till after the summer. I was going to work the summer and do all that, and then, just save, and then pack everything up and come out here. And I remember like laying on the couch. It was a rainy day, and I was like laying on the couch one day, and I had just bought an iPhone. I had like a BlackBerry or something before, and I'd just gone and gotten an iPhone because they were all the rage. And I was like, I should get an iPhone. I should, upgrade. And I'm like laying on the couch, playing with it, seeing all the things it can do. And I realized there's a voice recorder app on there. And I'm like, oh, I can record a voice. There's no way to do that before unless you bought like a little tape recorder. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So I tested it out. And I'm like, I should record something about wrestling and then try to figure out a way to take it from my phone and put it on my computer. And then maybe I can put it on YouTube or something. Like, that's literally how it came about. And then fast forward 10 years later, and here we are. But yeah, later on that fall, packed up and moved to the West Coast. And it's awesome out here. Wouldn't be surprised to see myself back on the East Coast one day. Cost of living is just so ridiculously low. But right now, I'm a California man and loving it. Yeah, tell me about it. Wrestling for life. If you got a good media library, at least it's easy to pass the time. And plus, these days with all the streaming and everything, you just got an unlimited supply of movies and TV. We can keep ourselves very busy. Oh, sorry to hear that, Lisa. Coming up on 10 years. My dad died last year. Coming up on 1 year next week for my dad. Oh, that's right, Ryan. I'm glad you mentioned that. So they're doing the ladder match. That's going to be either this week. I think it's this week on NXT. If not, it'll be the next week. Number one contenders ladder match. So that's going to be the person to face Charlotte first, I suppose. What would be cool, though, is if Rhea Ripley found herself into that match. But I think what's more likely is for Charlotte to face that person and beat them and then drop the belt to Rhea down the line. But in terms of who's in it right now, is it Mia Yim, Dakota, Candice, Io Shirai? Am I right? Io Shirai would be fun. That would be a fun match. I'd be into Io Shirai and Charlotte. I'd be into Candice and Charlotte. Maybe one of those two. I'd pick first. Dakota Kai, no. She's a heel. Dakota Kai, I think, lost a qualifying match, but something tells me she's back in there. I don't know. Dean is moving to North Carolina tomorrow? Like, for real? Well, it depends on where you're going. North Carolina's an awesome state. It's got mountains and the beach. I'm more of a beach guy. You can go move to Edgestown in Asheville. It's a great place. Otherwise, I've always been a Wrightsville Beach guy or an Outer Banks guy. Barry, do you think you'll come back to Hawaii if things get better? Yes, I'm supposed to come next year, and get this, I am leaving. So next year, WrestleMania is here in LA, and I'm leaving the Tuesday after WrestleMania to go to Kauai. So yeah, I'll be there next year, provided things get better. My parents are supposed to be there right now, but they had to cancel their trip a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's my plan. Next year is going to be gnarly because I got WrestleMania and then immediately hop on a flight, boom, right over to Hawaii for a week. So it's going to be, the timing sucks on that. I wish they could be a little bit more spread out, but that's the reality of it. But who knows? If we're even to that point, I hope we even have a WrestleMania next year. I hope that all of this, I hope 1 year from now, all this shit is far behind us. Let's at least hope. Oh, yeah, no, Devlin. I love Hawaii. I love visiting there. And being in my line of work, I got to be honest, I have looked around a couple of times and be like, what's stopping me from moving to Paradise? Good thing about my job is I can do it anywhere. And I've thought about it, but it's just, you're so far out in the middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean. I think I'd get a sense of cabin fever, and I'd prefer to be here. And plus, I live in San Diego. You know, Hawaii's awesome, and it's the most prettiest state in the country, but I live in the second prettiest, so I can live with this. Oh man, Stone Cold, sorry to hear that too. Yeah, a lot of people have weddings that are being postponed. A lot of people's family members are dying and they can't have funerals for them. This whole thing sucks. This whole thing sucks. I second that Vontae page. The last thing you really want to be doing, you want to stay informed and everything, but watching like an excess of news, and that's so it sucks. Everybody's quarantined, probably doing a lot of TV watching, you know, just one news show after another. And a lot of misinformation is being spewed out there, and we already live in a very scientifically illiterate world as it is, especially in this country. So the last thing we need is a bunch of people that don't understand anything thinking they know shit, and that's what sucks. And a lot of people are going to be doing things and making the wrong decisions and making things worse. That's just the reality of it. So, and I think watching the news can do more damage than good. Just listen to doctors. That's all you need to listen to. Don't ever let a politician tell you what to do in a pandemic. If a doctor wants to tell you, I'm all ears. Politician, go fuck yourself. All right, I think that's going to be a wrap. All right, I want to thank everybody for an awesome night again. We had a kick-ass audience in here all night. I appreciate all the engagement, all the super chats, the donations, all the kind words, all of the opinions on WrestleMania. Please leave more of them in the comments below. I would love to hear what you thought about Boneyard match and Funhouse match and Drew's big moment and Strowman's big moment and Charlotte's big moment. A lot of good stuff on this two-night empty arena WrestleMania, not the greatest WrestleMania we've ever seen. It sucks that this is the situation we're in, but given the situation we're in, I think this could have been a lot worse, and there was definitely some memorable moments on this show. It's going to be a WrestleMania that will never be forgotten for a lot of different reasons. It might even turn out to be infamous, but we did get some positives here. Glorious, successful return by Edge, a new big star launched in the main event. And even though it wasn't in front of a crowd, WWE has set the table here for potentially some really good things if we can ever get back on track and get life back to normal. So that's what we got to hope for first. And as far as that goes, we'll talk more about it tomorrow. So thanks again. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate everything. Don't forget to join me right here on YouTube immediately following Monday Night Raw tomorrow. We'll talk about the show. We'll put a cherry on top of the whole weekend, and then we'll see where we go from here, because we don't know. We really don't know. So we'll talk about it tomorrow. You guys be good. Have a good night. See you soon. Peace.